The story begins at the Silver Dragon Dungeon, where dragon soldiers guard the prison. At that moment, a woman approaches the dungeon. The guards notice her and address her as Your Majesty. The dragon woman orders the soldiers to leave, stating that she wants to speak with him alone. The soldiers obey. The woman is Rosweiss, the Silver Dragon Queen, ruler of all dragons. She enters the dungeon, where a man is bound in chains, a dragon slayer. The Dragon Queen addresses him, calling him the great dragon-slaying hero, and asks how it feels to now be a prisoner of the dragon clan. The dragon slayer tells her to kill him. The queen mocks him, saying he wants a quick death, but it won't be that easy. Holding his chin, she comments on his handsomeness and resolve, then scratches his cheek, adding that a few more scars would make him perfect. He feels pain from the wound. The dragon slayer demands her to stop humiliating him, urging her to kill him or chop him up as she pleases, and to act faster. The dragon queen releases his chin and, licking his blood, remarks that for someone as powerful as him, if he hadn't been framed by a villain, he wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable state. She then asks him to consider joining the Silver Dragon clan. The dragon slayer responds, questioning if she is worthy. With a serious expression, the dragon queen kicks him hard enough to break his chains. The force of the kick causes him to cough up blood. Stepping on him, the dragon queen angrily asks how a prisoner dares to be rude to her. Calling him Leon Cuss Mode, she mocks him, asking if he still thinks he is the great hero of humanity, praised by thousands. She taunts him further, wondering if he still dreams of wiping out the dragon clan and leaving behind a noble legacy. Rosweiss tells Leon to wake up, declaring that he's going to die here, calling him an ignorant and worthless loser. She adds that perhaps, under different circumstances, he might have had the chance to let his descendants enjoy wealth and glory with him. Isn't that an interesting hypothesis? She muses. But unfortunately, she reminds him, he has no successor, so such a future won't be possible. Leon retorts, warning her not to underestimate humans. Rosweiss wraps her tail around him and lifts him into the air, commenting on how stubborn he is. Leon struggles to break free from her grip but fails. He then calls her Your Majesty. Rosweiss asks if he's finally ready to beg for mercy. Leon responds that she made two crucial mistakes. Rosweiss doesn't understand, so he explains. First, she should never be alone with the most powerful dragon slayer trained to kill her kind. Second, she should never have tasted his blood. Suddenly, Leon casts a spell through his eyes, activating a blood curse that afflicts Rosweiss. Stunned by the curse, she releases Leon and retracts her tail. Leon falls to the ground. Rosweiss starts breathing heavily, feeling an intense heat building up inside her. She falls to her knees, her face turning red, wondering what's happening to her. Her breathing grows even heavier as she thinks, what on earth is going on? Leon coldly informs her that soon, she will be tormented by the soul-destroying pain for the rest of her life. Gritting her teeth in anger, Rosweiss suddenly lunges at him, pinning him to the ground. Her face flushed, she leans her body onto his, staring at him intensely. Leon is caught off guard, thinking, what's going on? As Leon observes Rosweiss, noticing her flushed face and heavy breathing, he begins to realize the situation and wonders if she's becoming aroused. Before he can react, Rosweiss takes the lead and kisses him forcefully. Leon is shocked, his face turning red as she continues the kiss. You can imagine what happens next. An hour later, the floor is strewn with discarded clothes. Rosweiss wakes up, still dazed, and upon seeing her naked body, she turns to Leon and shouts furiously, demanding to know what he did to her. Leon, now awake, calmly explains that it's a blood curse, a forbidden technique that can only be used once in a lifetime. He tells her that once he dies, the curse will cause her endless pain. Furious, Rosweiss yells, if the spell only takes effect after his death, then what just happened? Leon, still flustered, replies that it was an accident. He explains that he believed the curse's pain would manifest only after his death, but he didn't anticipate its side effects, which caused her arousal. Embarrassed, Rosweiss yells at him to shut up. Leon calmly states that, as far as he knows, dragons follow the rule of monogamy and asks if he is correct. He then remarks that after his death, the great Silver Dragon Queen will not only be unable to find a new mate but also unable to bear offspring, and she will be hard-pressed to explain to the Dragon Clan why all of this happened. He admits that the effects of the forbidden spell have far exceeded his expectations. Rosweiss tries to respond but can't bring herself to speak. Leon asks her to repeat what she said earlier. He reminds her that earlier she claimed he would have no successor, and now she, too, will have no heir. There will be no successor to the dragon line, he says. Enraged, Rosweiss charges at Leon, summoning an aura to her hand. As her hand nearly reaches him, Leon mockingly remarks that she wants to kill him, but she doesn't need to do it herself, he will die soon enough. He tells her to live with hatred for him and to endure a lifetime of pain. This is his curse to her as a human, he declares. Rosweiss pauses, withdrawing her hand. After some time, she dresses, looking at Leon with disdain. She coldly remarks that he is just a human, and yet he seeks revenge in such a despicable way and he wants to die. Rosweiss then, casting magic, asks, "How can it be that easy?" Rosweiss then casts a spell on Leon's chest. If you guys enjoy my recaps, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Make sure to watch till the end. Leon Cosmety was once a legendary dragon-slaying hero. At just 5 years old, he killed his neighbor's vicious dog with his bare hands. His actions caught the attention of a renowned dragon slayer, who took him on as an apprentice. By the age of 10, Leon had entered the Imperial Dragon Slayer Academy, and 4 years later, he graduated as the youngest and most highly evaluated student in history. At 15, he began fighting on the dragon-slaying battlefield, killing countless dragons, recapturing territory, and earning numerous military accolades for the Empire. Leon was celebrated as the strongest dragon-slaying hero and the Empire's only hope for victory in the war. However, he was eventually captured by the Dragon Clan. 2 years have passed since Leon was taken prisoner. After a long sleep, he awakens suddenly, screaming and gasping for breath. As he clutches his chest, he wonders where he is. He looks around the room and notices someone peeking at him from the door. A little girl is watching him with curiosity. Surprised, Leon's face turns red as he thinks about how cute she looks. The girl asks if he's finally awake. Leon, holding his head, tries to make sense of the situation. As it slowly dawns on him, he mutters to himself that he must be in heaven, believing his great deeds have earned him a place there. Pointing at the girl, he confidently declares that she must be the legendary angel. Confused, the little girl asks, "What's an angel?" Leon, still under the impression he's in heaven, greets her and calls her a little angel, asking for her name. The girl replies that her name is Moon. Smiling, Leon compliments her, saying, "Moon, what a lovely name." Internally, he wonders why this angel's hair is so unusual, black and white mixed together. Moon explains that her mother told her it means the moon. Leon internally wonders if angels also have mothers. He introduces himself as Leon Cosmode. Moon cheerfully says she knows Leon means lion. Leon asks who told her this. Moon replies that her mom said so too. Leon is shocked and thinks there's no way. He then asks if he can find out who her mother is. Moon says her mother is Rosweiss. Leon is taken aback and devastated upon hearing this. He says that if her mother is Rosweiss, then he must be. Moon looks at him and cheerfully says that he is her father. Hearing this, Leon is completely shocked and left speechless. Holding his head, he says that he is dad and this child is actually his and Rosweiss's. Moon sees Rosweiss, calls her mom, and starts running towards her. Leon then turns and looks in that direction. Moon, hugging Rosweiss, says that dad is awake. Rosweiss replies that she knows and tells Leon that he finally woke up. Moon adds that mom must be happy to see dad awake because she came to visit him every day. Rosweiss, looking at Leon coldly, confirms Moon's statement. Leon, gritting his teeth in anger, thinks that only a ghost would believe this. Rosweiss tells Moon to go out and play first, as she needs to talk to her father. Moon playfully agrees. Leon asks if she really is his daughter. Rosweiss asks what else she could be. She then confirms that she is their biological daughter. Rosweiss closes the door with her tail. Leon asks she hates him, why she gave birth to their child, and why she saved him. Rosweiss explains that he's been asleep for 2 years and questions if he thinks she can just forget what he did to her 2 years ago. Leon says she thinks he wanted this situation. He asserts that they are different and cannot coexist. If it were any other time, he would never have touched her. Rosweiss asks if touching her is also a form of torture for him. Leon replies, of course it is. Rosweiss then grabs Leon's leg with her tail and pulls him, causing him to fall onto the bed. Slowly, Rosweiss climbs on top of him. Seeing this, Leon asks what she is going to do. Rosweiss tears Leon's shirt and, casting a spell, says she wants to carve her own dragon pattern onto him. Leon tells Rosweiss to stop. As she places the spell on his chest, she explains that it will become his shame, meaning that from now on he will be her prisoner and will never be able to leave her. The mark she places on Leon's chest also appears on Rosweiss's chest. Rosweiss says that when his fellow humans see the dragon tattoo on his body, They will wonder if he is a great dragon-slaying hero or a traitor who surrendered to dragons. Gritting his teeth, Leon asks why she is going to such lengths. Rosweiss places her finger on Leon's lip and asks if he doesn't understand. She explains that the dragon race's concept of revenge is always a difficult problem for human dragon scientists. Their revenge is an inhuman behavior that combines paranoia and extremes beyond human understanding. Rosweiss says she wants him to live in this shame for the rest of his life and be severely humiliated by her. Leon's face turns red, and his body starts burning as he contemplates the situation. For the Silver Dragon Queen Rosweiss, it is a great honor to make Leon, the greatest dragon slayer in human history, a slave of the Dragon Clan and the Silver Dragon Queen's closest partner in a sense. Rosweiss leans closer to Leon's face and says that it's time to get started. Although it is incredible from a human perspective, this is her revenge on the Dragon Slayer as a dragon. In the Silver Dragon Castle, one maid comments that the Queen seems to be in a good mood today. Another maid asks if she doesn't know that the Queen's husband has woken up. Leon, hiding behind a wall and overhearing them, thinks that the female dragon actually announced to the public that he is her husband. He realizes they have no idea how terrifying the Dragon Queen can be. Last night, Rosweiss's dragon instincts made things very difficult for him, driving him wild. He thinks she squeezed every bit of energy from him throughout the day and night, leaving his waist almost broken. Fueled by anger and clenching his fists, Leon vows that he will never stay here and become her plaything. Leon assesses the situation, hiding behind the wall. He notes that there are 4 dragons guarding the side door, making it impossible to escape through there. He wonders why the Silver Dragon Castle is so quiet today. It's unusually strange. While contemplating this, he notices something and looks to the side, spotting a hole in the wall. He remarks that it's unusual to find a hole here and considers it might be a trap. Despite this, he resolves to escape no matter what, even if it means forcing his way out. As Leon tries to squeeze through the hole, he mutters a farewell to the perverted mother dragon. He acknowledges that while Moon, the little dragon, is very cute, she can only be Rosweiss's for now. From a distance, Moon quietly observes Leon and tells her mother that Dad is digging a hole, and it's cool. Rosweiss acknowledges this, saying he's pretty awesome. Moon asks when her mother will go and fish him back. Rosweiss replies that Moon shouldn't use the phrase fish him back when referring to her father, as it's rude. Moon asks what she should say instead. Rosweiss responds that catch him back would be more appropriate. After some time, Leon successfully escapes through the hole and enters the forest and runs as fast as he can. He thinks that after climbing over these mountains, he should be able to see the borders of human territory. He wonders if the female dragon will be unable to catch up with him after he's run so far. As he hears the sounds of the wind, he looks up at the sky and sees Rosweiss in her dragon form catching up to him. Leon screams in shock at the sight of her. Approaching him, Rosweiss remarks that he is quite a runner. Meanwhile, Leon continues to run as fast as he can, frustrated in his attempt to escape. Rosweiss passes over him and, standing in front of him, asks if he finds this game fun. She expresses her satisfaction and then questions whether he thinks this is too easy. She asks if he doesn't wonder who helped him divert the guards and left the hole for his escape. Leon admits that, even if he had known it was a trap, he had no choice but to try escaping. He just didn't expect her to catch up so quickly. Rosweiss then questions what will happen if he returns to human territory now, with her mark on his chest. She asks if he thinks they will still recognize him as a dragon slayer. Leon responds that he would start a new life as an ordinary person, which is better than being tortured by her. Rosweiss, swinging her wings, says he doesn't know how to appreciate her kindness. She then captures him with her tail and places him on top of her head and start flying. Leon screams, demanding to know where she is taking him and asking her to let him go. Rosweiss replies that since he wants to go back so much, she will help him. 3 hours later, near the border of the Empire, Rosweiss drops Leon from the air near the border. He crashes into a tree, then hits his head to the ground first. Holding his head, Leon complains about the pain. As Leon turns his head and looks ahead, he sees lightning and a small town in the distance. Surprised, he wonders if it is a human town. Rosweiss transforms back into her human form and confirms that it is indeed the human empire. She remarks that although the human town seems close, he cannot return to the human world just by stepping over it. The dragon mark on Rosweiss's chest starts glowing, and the dragon mark on Leon's chest begins to glow in response. Rosweiss then reveals that when one person with a dragon mark desires to be intimate with the other, the dragon marks will react. Leon is shocked by this revelation. Rossweiss pins him against a tree and asks if he is now feeling hot all over, itching to get started, and unable to resist the urge. Leon questions if she wants to do it here. Rossweiss confirms and explains that she wants him to experience the shame in front of his hometown, so close to it. Holding his chest, Leon asserts that if she thinks he will lose faith because of this, she is mistaken. He grabs Rossweiss's hand and loudly declares that he will wait patiently for the opportunity to come. When that time arrives, he will repay her double for all the humiliation she has inflicted on him. Rossweiss listens in silence and closes her eyes, agreeing with his words. She then says that she will be waiting for him, whether he returns alive or dead. Near the Empire border city, Rossweiss and Leon have an intimate moment. Rossweiss, feeling satisfied, dresses and comments that she is very pleased with his performance. On the other hand, Leon is completely drained. Rossweiss places her hand on him and suggests that she could bring him here every month to visit his hometown. Leon, irritated, acknowledges that she is a female dragon with her head in the clouds, dreaming about draining him. Rossweiss, smiling, admits that he has seen through her plans. She then unfurls her wings and says they should go home, as their daughter is waiting for them. Leon tells her to wait. With a questioning look, Rossweiss glances back at him. Leon, walking away, insists that as a dragon slayer, he doesn't want to be treated like prey. He can walk by himself. Rossweiss teases him, noting that it would take at least 3 hours to fly to the Silver Dragon Castle at her speed, and at least 10 days to half a month for a human to walk. Leon responds that it may take 10 days or half a month, but he tells her not to underestimate human endurance. Rossweiss says she wants to see how long he can last. After a while, Leon feels completely energyless and struggles to move. Rossweiss asks if he can no longer walk. If he asks for help, she'll take him back. Leon, though clearly exhausted, denies being tired and questions who said he was. Rossweiss remarks that the only thing tough about him is his mouth. Leon, angry and struggling to speak, finds himself unable to respond. As they talk, Leon notices a group approaching and turns to look. He realizes it's a Dragon Slayer army and feels hopeful, thinking they might help him get rid of Rossweiss. However, seeing the dark look on Rossweiss's face, he quickly dismisses his earlier thought and realizes that if he calls for help, Rossweiss will undoubtedly kill them without hesitation. The head of the Dragon Slayer army notices their presence and instructs his subordinates to stop for a moment. Looking at Rossweiss and Leon, he asks if they are lost. Leon, scratching his head, replies that they are not lost, just hanging out. Internally, he thinks he cannot involve innocent people in this situation. The man dismounts his horse and comments that the forest is an unusual place to hang out, given its dangerous species and wild animals. He offers to have them join his group. Introducing himself as Walker, the captain of the Imperial Dragon Squadron, he extends his hand. Leon thanks Walker for his kindness and explains that they have learned some self-defense and can protect themselves. Internally, he urges them not to come any closer. Rossweiss, standing behind him with a dark expression, looks at Walker. Noticing Leon, Walker comments that he looks familiar and asks if he has seen him somewhere before. Leon is startled by this and sees Rossweiss's serious expression. Leon, realizing the situation is tense, acts quickly. He grabs Rossweiss's hand, which is charged with aura, and pulls her close, hugging her. Smiling, he tells Walker that he must have mistaken him for someone else. He explains that he has a popular face and that even his wife often misrecognizes him. He asks Rossweiss if he's right. In a low voice, Leon tells Rossweiss that he will return with her obediently if she helps him get rid of the Dragon Slayer army. Rossweiss and Leon, smiling and acting like a sweet couple, maintain their facade. Seeing them close, Walker laughs and says he won't disturb their love. He then leaves with his group. With a serious expression, Rossweiss asks Leon if he hugged her enough. Leon steps back, and Rossweiss remarks that he was smart not to ask for their help. However, she warns him that he needs to understand his own position. Even though they have a child, it doesn't mean she is his wife. Leon, frustrated, insists that he never considered being her husband. Rossweiss turns away, saying they still have a long way to go. As Leon walks, his hand starts causing pain, and his palm wounds. He soon starts losing consciousness and faints on the ground. Hearing the sound, Rossweiss turns around and observes that he has fainted. She comments on how fragile humans are. Rossweiss then releases her power and transforms back into her dragon form. She picks up Leon with her mouth, throws him into the air, and catches him on her back. She starts heading towards her Silver Dragon Castle, noting that this ordeal is meant as a plea for mercy. At the Silver Dragon Castle in the morning, Leon is brought back home by Rosweiss, still unconscious. As he gradually regains consciousness, he slowly opens his eyes. Seeing him awake, Moon cheerfully exclaims, "Dad is awake." Leon notices her and, holding his head, sits up, asking how he ended up back here. Moon tells him that it was Mom who brought him home. Imagining Rosweiss, Leon frustratingly mutters that she finally caught him like prey. Noticing a bandage on his hand, Leon asks about it. Moon, enthusiastically holding his hand, explains that she was the one who bandaged it for him. As Leon looks at Moon, he recalls that dragonologists once said dragons are a ferocious race, spending their lives in violence and blood from childhood. Yet, despite Moon's obvious dragon characteristics, she shows no hostility towards him and treats him completely as her father. Leon wonders if it's because she is a human-dragon hybrid. Patting Moon's head affectionately, Leon praises her, saying, "Moon is awesome." In response, she smiles cutely. Carefully, Leon tells Moon that she's very cute, but when she grows up, she must not become like her mother. Moon listens, unsure of what to make of it. At that moment, Rosweiss, standing at the door, asks what's wrong with being like her. Taken aback by her voice, Leon remains silent. Leon looks away, annoyed, and mutters, "Nothing." Moon, eager to show, proudly displays Leon's bandaged hand to Rosweiss, saying cheerfully that she bandaged Dad's wound according to her instructions. Rosweiss, wearing a cold expression, states that this is what she should do. Innocent Moon happily agrees with her mother, Rosweiss. Looking at the Moon, Leon thinks about what a strict mother Rosweiss is. Patting Moon's head affectionately, he asks her why she doesn't go hide in the garden first. He'll come find her when he counts to 100. Cheerfully, Moon asks Leon if Dad really wants to play hide and seek with her. Leon proudly assures her that he's not like her mother and urges her to go quickly and hide. As Leon cheekily starts counting, Moon runs toward the garden, telling Dad not to count so fast. Rosweiss watches their playful interaction in silence. While Leon continues to count slowly, Moon dashes away, and Leon watches her affectionately. As she leaves, he turns to Rosweiss with a serious expression and says he wants to talk to her. Rosweiss asks what it is, and Leon angrily questions why she is being too hard on Moon. Rosweiss responds that all dragons went through this. She believes that only by being strict from a young age can they cultivate strong warriors. Leon retorts that she isn't entirely a dragon, and besides, Moon is so cute. He asks if Rosweiss can really bear it. Rosweiss replies that she is a dragon, and cute is a derogatory term for one. Leon arrogantly asserts that she's pretty cute too. Hearing Leon's words, Rosweiss becomes angry and looks at him with a serious expression. She rashly grabs his collar and pulls him closer, glaring at him as she says he's just a slave for her to vent her frustrations on. She tells him to stop getting ahead of her. In response, Leon makes a cute crying face. Rosweiss then hugs him, saying it's good that he understands. She reminds him that she is the queen of the Silver Dragon clan and has many government affairs to handle, so the task of taking care of the children falls to him. Leaning in closer, she whispers in Leon's ear that the kid likes him. They then part ways, and Leon heads to the garden. As he walks through the garden, Leon repeats Rosweiss's words to himself, "She's the dragon queen and very busy." He muses that it's as if dragon slayers are responsible for taking care of the children. Suddenly, he notices Moon hiding behind a pillar, peeking at him. Leon thinks to himself that Moon is still too naive, wondering if she believes he can't find her while she's hiding behind him. Pointing at her, he loudly exclaims, "Found you, Moon." But there's no response, she simply stares at him, her expression is cold. Feeling awkward, Leon falls silent, and only the sound of the wind can be heard. He wonders if Moon is angry, given her lack of reaction. Scratching his head, he apologizes, saying he's sorry for making her wait. Without a word, Moon suddenly starts running away. Taken aback, Leon chases after her, asking what's wrong. As she continues to run, he calls out, "Moon, why are you running?" Moon turns the corner and runs away, leaving Leon puzzled as he can't find her. He mutters to himself that she's gone, though he just saw her pass by. Leon thinks it's really hard to predict a child's mood, which explains why Rosweiss assigned him the task of taking care of her. As Leon contemplates this, Moon returns and peeks at him from behind. Cheerfully, she hugs him from the back, exclaiming that she caught Dad. Leon is surprised and asks her why she just ran past him. Moon looks at him with a clueless expression. Moon says that she didn't. and explains that since Dad couldn't find her, she came out to look for him. Leon, taken aback by her words, wonders if he sees it wrong. Moon then takes his hand, dragging him along, saying she has something to show him and asks him to come with her. Leon agrees to follow her. Meanwhile, another Moon watches Leon from behind. This other version, clenching her tiny fists, looks at him with determination and hesitance. It seems she wants to get closer but finds it difficult because of her nature. It becomes clear that Rossweiss gave birth to twins, one with her cold characteristics and another with Leon's cheerful spirit. Moon takes Leon to a spot in the garden. Humming joyfully, she draws a picture. Leon sits nearby, affectionately watching his cute daughter as she works on her drawing. With a happy smile, he thinks how wonderful it is to have a daughter. It feels as if his soul is healed. As Moon finishes her drawing, she inspects it closely. Leon, clenching his fist with determination, resolves that he will help her escape from the clutches of the mother dragon sooner or later. Moon cheerfully approaches Leon, showing him her drawing. "Dad, look. I drew a family portrait." Leon smiles and tells her that she is awesome and truly worthy of being her daddy's daughter. However, when he sees a family of 4 in the drawing instead of just 3 people, he wonders about it. Pointing to the other child in the picture, he asks Moon, "Why are there 2 kids here?" With a cheerful grin, Moon replies, "That's her sister." Leon is shocked to hear this revelation. He realizes that he didn't just hit the target with 1 shot but actually hit it twice. Holding his head, he thinks that the child he saw in the garden just moments ago must be her. No wonder she was angry when he called her by the wrong name. Moon observes her father's struggle with his thoughts. Moon then adds, Moon thinks her sister isn't angry, she's just a little shy when she sees Dad. Leon, wearing a thoughtful expression, agrees with Moon, noting that since they haven't met each other much, it's normal for them not to be familiar. As he looks at the dragon castle, he internally thinks that it's all the dragon's fault for hiding this child from him. He resolves to ask Rossweiss for the truth. In Rossweiss's study room, she reviews the affairs of the silver dragon castle while a small, cute dragon observes her, making tiny sounds. Suddenly, both Rossweiss and the little dragon hear a commotion and turn toward the door. Leon bursts into the room, slamming the door angrily as he calls out Rossweiss's name. The little dragon, startled by Leon's sudden and fierce intrusion, flinches. Rossweiss, placing a document into a letter, asks where Moon is. Leon responds that she went to play with her sister. Angrily, he adds that Rossweiss is really good at hiding things. He demands to know when she was going to tell him that he has an older daughter. Rossweiss questions him, asking if he doesn't already know this by now. In frustration, Leon slams his fist on the bench and expresses his annoyance. He says he has to thank her, giving birth to a child is hard work, and he never expected that she had given him 2 children. She has worked so hard. Leon yells that when he returns to the Empire someday, he will definitely include Rossweiss's name in their family tree. Hearing his harsh words, Rossweiss looks at him with a serious expression. Folding her arms and smirking, she asks if he knows why she didn't tell him about the existence of her eldest daughter. Leon questions her reason, then speculates that she is jealous of his closeness to Moon and is deliberately keeping Noah from meeting him as her father. Rossweiss inquires if he is so eager to see her. Leon, speaking arrogantly, replies that it's nonsense, who wouldn't want to meet their daughter. He asserts that he is not like her, a cold and stern mother, he wants to cultivate a good relationship with his child. Rossweiss, still smirking, agrees to show him but warns him not to regret it. In the kitchen, Leon laughs as he holds a knife in his hands and calls out Rossweiss's name. As he cuts vegetables with the knife, he declares that he's going to impress her today. This is his first step toward getting closer to his eldest daughter, winning her over with delicious food. While cooking, he thinks about how he used to make this cream stew often for the team. Everyone who had tasted it said it was good, and its sweet flavor is perfect for children. Leon tastes the stew and remarks that it is not bad, his cooking skills are still sharp. Proudly, he thinks that this flavor will definitely win Noah over. After eating the stew, he imagines Noah saying how much she loves the food her dad cooks the most. Humming happily, he continues preparing meals for his beloved daughters. Outside the kitchen, the maids watch Leon through the window. One maid comments that the prince has just recovered from a serious illness and is still cooking for his family, showing what a good male dragon he is for caring about them. The other maid notices something and looks aside. Rossweiss walks towards the kitchen, bringing her 2 daughters, Moon and Noah. The maids, seeing Rossweiss, bow and greet her as Her Majesty. Moon enthusiastically waves at them, while Noah, mirroring her mother, coldly stares without acknowledging them. Rossweiss tells the maids that they don't need to wait for orders at dinner tonight and instructs them to go and rest. The two maids bow again in gratitude, thanking Her Majesty. Meanwhile, Leon is in the kitchen preparing the dining table as he finishes cooking. As Rossweiss enters the kitchen with the children, Leon says they arrived just in time. Moon cheerfully runs toward Leon, exclaiming, "Dad, what a nice smell." Leon, smiling, responds that he heard they both love meat the most, so he made stew and steak especially for them. With a proud smile, Leon wonders if Noah can sense her father's feelings. When Leon looks at Noah, he finds her staring coldly and she looks away, not uttering a word. Taken aback by her reaction, Leon's jaw drops in shock. He awkwardly thinks about why her response is different from what he expected. As he glances at Rossweiss, noticing her arrogant and cold demeanor, Leon clenches his teeth in frustration, realizing that the female dragon must have anticipated this situation and deliberately prevented him from meeting Noah. Rossweiss then tells Noah that this is her first formal meeting and instructs her to introduce herself. Noah complies with her mother's request. Standing before Leon with the same cold demeanor as her mother. Placing her hands on her waist, she introduces herself as Noah K. Melkveh, the eldest daughter of the Silver Dragon Queen, Rossweiss. She's 1 year and 2 months old. Dragons are an immortal race, and baby dragons grow faster than human children. Leon extends his hand cheerfully to greet Noah, introducing himself as Leon Cosmode, her father. This is his first step to getting closer to his eldest daughter, to say hello politely and leave a good impression. Noah coldly and simply responds with "oh," offering no more words and showing no emotion on her face. Leon awkwardly smiles, wondering why this child is so cold, and he begins to question if she holds a grudge against him. Moon whispers in Noah's ear, urging her to engage more and not to embarrass their dad. In response, Noah folds her arms, looking at Leon coldly. She remarks that he seems weak and asks if he is really their father. Leon, hearing her words, he looks weak, and if he is really their father, those words cut deep, striking at his pride. Leon coughs blood, feeling the weight of her statement. Leon, looking at Noah, grinning his teeth and holding his chest, he thinks about what a filial daughter he has. Leon's career as a father faces his first crisis. As Leon finishes cooking dinner and organizing the dining table, the family sits together to eat. Family dinners are supposed to be the best occasions for family members to talk and communicate, but now they have become Leon's most tormenting moments. As the food is served onto the plates, Leon looks at his two daughters with a smile, especially anticipating Noah's reaction. Moon asks Noah to help cut the meat for her. Noah doesn't complain about it and starts cutting the meat. Leon, watching them, thinks that the two daughters look similar, but their personalities are completely different. And it's obvious that Noah is more like her mother. Leon, expecting good feedback about his cooking skills, asks Noah if she likes today's food. Without hesitation, Noah coldly replies with 2 words, "disgusting." After hearing Noah's response, Leon is struck by her words, it hits him hard. Rossweiss, amused by Noah's answer, laughs happily. Even though she doesn't judge or show any lack of interest in eating Leon's cooking, her daughter is quite harsh. Moon curiously asks why Mom is so happy. Rossweiss, smiling, says that her father finally got to reunite with their family. Seeing him so happy, she's naturally happy too. Turning to Leon, Rossweiss asks him if she's right and why he isn't smiling. Leon, awkwardly forcing a fake smile, says that of course he's happy to be with his family. Moon enthusiastically asks if Dad can have dinner with him every day. Leon can't say no to his precious daughter, but internally he thinks that he doesn't want to eat with this female dragon every day. What he means is he doesn't want to eat with Rossweiss every day. Before Leon can give an answer, Noah interrupts and says no. Moon asks why not. Noah replies that it's because she wants to study in the Young Dragon Department of St. Heath Academy. Rossweiss, with a serious look, points out that the Young Dragon Department of St. Heath Academy is full of dragons that are 4 or 5 years old. She asks why Noah is so eager to enroll. Noah, coldly and without hesitation, says it's because she wants to defeat more dragon slayers. Hearing Noah's words, Leon chokes and coughs. He looks at her and thinks that it seems this child wants to defeat him, her own father. Leon tells Noah that dragon slayers are all very brave and that she is still so young, she might get hurt. In response to his concern, Noah folds her arms and arrogantly tells Leon not to treat her like a child. Leon, taken aback, thinks that she is a child. Rossweiss, smiling, says she thinks Noah's idea is pretty good. The sooner she learns the skills, the sooner she can fight the dragon slayers. Looking at Leon, Rossweiss smirks and asks him if she isn't right or if he has any reason to stop Noah from going to school. In response, Leon looks at her angrily and grits his teeth. Internally, he thinks that if he continues to oppose it, Noah will definitely hate him as a father even more. He can only change her mind subtly. Leon coldly says there's no reason and he has no objection. Noah observes Leon. Frustrated, Leon looks at Rosweiss and thinks that he finally understands. This female dragon wants to use Noah to mentally attack him during this dinner. It is Leon's imagination that she is dominating him. Fueled by anger, he glares at Rosweiss and thinks, just wait, Rosweiss, she's going to get her ass kicked later. Rosweiss, smiling, says that since her father is okay with it, it's happily decided. She tells Noah that the entrance test for St. Heath's Academy will be held in a month, and during this month, her father will help her prepare. Noah, clenching her fists with determination, agrees with her mother. Later, at the end of the family dinner, Moon tells Noah to look at Moon's round belly. Noah touches Moon's belly. Leon then calls Rosweiss by her name, when he ever called her wife. Leon points his finger and says that these plates haven't been cleaned yet. Rosweiss looks at him questioningly and remains silent. She then says that they should just let the servants do it. Leon, getting closer and placing his hand on Rosweiss's shoulder, says that after dinner, the couple should clean up and wash the plates together. This is the correct way to end a family dinner. Leon arrogantly whispers if she doesn't want to create a harmonious family atmosphere in front of them, even if it's just fake. Moon, looking at them enthusiastically, is eager to see what happens next. Rosweiss notices her enthusiasm, and with no other choice, she sighs and agrees with Leon. Moon, taking the initiative, cheerfully says that she also wants to help. Noah reaches out to Moon's collar, grabbing the back of her dress, and starts pulling her outside, telling Moon to come with her. Moon, unwilling and making a crying face, asks her sister where they are going. Meanwhile, Rosweiss places the plates in the sink to wash them. Looking back at Leon while holding the apron, Rosweiss asks when he is going to help. Leon, folding his arms arrogantly, asks Rosweiss if she has forgotten what he said 2 years ago. He reminds her that she should never be alone with a highly trained and powerful dragon slayer. Suddenly, the mark on Rosweiss's body begins to react and glows, and at the same time, the mark on Leon's chest also starts to react and glow. Rosweiss, angrily, asks Leon what he wants to do. Leon arrogantly replies that before, he had traveled a long distance and was exhausted, which allowed him to be controlled and played with by her dragon pattern. Now, he says, it is different. Rosweiss quickly covers her body with aura and jumps at Leon to attack with her tail, warning him not to think he can escape from here using this trick. As Rosweiss's attack is about to land on Leon's face, he stops her powerful strike with his bare hand, blocking her tail covered in aura. Leon grabs Rosweiss's tail and says, "Who said he was going to run away?" Suddenly, Rosweiss moans as her breath becomes heavier and her face turns red. The mark on her chest glows, and she falls to the ground, moaning as her breaths grow even heavier. She no longer has the strength to resist Leon. Leon, not powerless after all, is merely in a recovery state, unable to use his full potential yet. Looking at Rosweiss, he asks if Her Majesty is unable to do anything. He arrogantly points out that the dragon pattern makes her tail extremely sensitive, saying that when her tail is pinched, she is like a kitten being held by the scruff of the neck, weak and powerless. As Leon pinches her tail, she trembles under his touch, her body becoming sensitive. Leon states that this is new knowledge he has discovered from her dragon book. Coming closer to Rosweiss's face, Leon tells her that her dragons are eager to conquer and control everything. He asks Rosweiss if she has ever been conquered. Hearing Leon, Rosweiss's eyes widen in shock. Under Leon's touch, Rosweiss's breath becomes heavier, and her face turns redder. As Rosweiss's inner desires heat up, she struggles, looking back at Leon with heavy breaths, telling him to let go of her tail. Leon, holding the tail with both hands, pinches it, making Rosweiss more drawn toward her desires. Arrogantly, Leon looks at Rosweiss and tells her that since the day he woke up, she has trampled on his dignity and treated him as a toy for her entertainment. Showing his arrogance, Leon asks what she thinks about switching things up tonight. Hearing his words, Rosweiss angrily calls Leon a bastard. As they argue, they suddenly hear noises from outside. Both Leon and Rosweiss look toward the door with questioning expressions. The two maids responsible for the kitchen stand outside the door, laughing and talking eagerly. One maid wonders if Her Majesty the Queen and her family's loving time is over. The other maid just smiles in response. When they open the door, they see the room sparkling clean. One maid, surprised, remarks how clean it is, while the other wonders if it was the prince who did it. The two maids then laugh and talk to themselves about the kitchen. Leon, on the other side, hides with Rossweiss. As the maids talk, Leon keeps an eye on them, listening to their conversation while remaining silent. Leon, holding Rossweiss's chin and hugging her from behind, tells Her Majesty to be quiet. Rossweiss, still struggling to free herself from Leon's grip, finds her body unable to respond. Leon tells Rossweiss that she doesn't want to be discovered by the maids outside, does she? The queen, who is usually so high and mighty, has become like this now, right? As the maids leave the kitchen, they close the door. To Leon's words, Rossweiss remains silent, her flushed face unable to turn and fight back at him. Leon, holding Rossweiss's chin, leans closer to her face and tells her she has done well. He then says, "Let's get started, my dear wife." With a smirking smile, Leon looks arrogantly at Rossweiss's face. On the other side, Rossweiss, whose body is heated with intimacy, can't help but submit to Leon. She remains silent, looking into his eyes with a red, flushed face. 3 days later, in the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon is in a coma again. Moon and Noah both sit on Leon's bed, watching over him. Moon says that Dad hasn't woken up for 3 days and asks if he is dead. Noah tells Moon to just wait and see. Noah then kicks Leon's face with her foot. Leon subconsciously says it hurts so much. Noah, stepping on Leon's face with her hands folded, coldly says that he is not dead yet. Leon, regaining some consciousness, frustratingly thinks that no one should treat their father like this. As Leon slowly opens his eyes from the coma, he sees Moon's face. Moon, seeing her dad wake up, becomes cheerful as she looks at him. Quickly turning to Rossweiss, Moon cheerfully says, "Mom, Dad is awake again." Leon, sitting up, asks when he fainted. Rossweiss, turning back and looking at him, asks if he needs help remembering. Leon then recalls that intimate night with her. After Leon conquered Rossweiss's body that night, some time later, when Rossweiss regained her composure, she turned the kitchen upside down as they fought. She then hit him in the face, causing tears to flow from his eyes. Leon, recalling the night, remembers that after that night, the dragon pattern was invalidated, and he was hit hard by her. Leon, looking at Rossweiss who is doing her hair, thinks that this female dragon is so cruel. If he were an ordinary person, he would have died several times under her claws. As Leon looks closely at Rossweiss's beautiful, radiant face, he thinks that if one looks closely, she is quite pretty. She is clearly a female dragon over 200 years old. Captivated by her charm, Leon is stunned, just staring at her. Seeing Leon in this state, Moon concernedly says, "Why isn't Dad moving?" Noah, coldly responding to Moon's concern, says that he just looked at their mother and got stunned. Suddenly, a hairpin falls down unexpectedly in contact with Rossweiss's hand. Rossweiss looks at the falling hairpin. Leon picks up the hairpin, which has fallen on the ground near the table. Leon then suddenly, with affection, places the hairpin in Rossweiss's hair. Rossweiss is quite surprised by his sudden affection. Smiling, Leon even compliments Rossweiss for the first time, saying, "This one suits her quite well." Rossweiss, looking back at Leon with a smirking smile, says she didn't expect him to be so considerate. Rossweiss then asks if he's done this for other women before. Leon replies that when he was a kid, he often combed the hair of his master's donkey and became very skilled at it. Moon, with curious eyes, looks at Leon and asks her dad what a donkey is. Leon, imitating funnily, says that donkeys are similar to dragons, with 2 ears and a tail. They are very stubborn and like to hum when they are unhappy. As Leon tells this, Moon enthusiastically listens to her father's words. Leon adds, at the end of his explanation, saying they're just like her mother. Hearing Leon's words, Rossweiss gets angry, looking at Leon with a serious expression. Rossweiss then hits Leon hard on the chest, making him scream in pain. I thought to myself that things changed a bit after the sudden affection in the plot, but it seems not yet. Leon, in pain, folds his arms around his chest. Moon, concerned, reaches out to Leon, panicking, and asks if Dad is okay. Leon says he's fine and not to worry about him. On the other hand, Noah, watching from the side, coldly folds her hands, not flinching or responding at all. Rossweiss then tells Moon and Noah that their task today is to learn how to write their names, and their father will teach them. To her sudden assignment, both Noah and Moon respond. Leon angrily says that she assigned him another task without his permission. Moon, excited, happily says that Dad will teach them how to write, while Noah coldly says that she already knows how to write. Moon, cheerfully holding Noah's hand, leads her out of the room and says to her sister, "Let's go to the study room to find a pen with nice colors." She asks which color Noah wants. Noah replies that she wants purple. Rosweiss, looking at Leon, suddenly says that her sister is coming to visit today and that she doesn't want him to appear in front of her. Hearing this, Leon is caught off guard. Surprised, Leon says, she won't even let him meet her family? Rosweiss, getting closer to Leon, whispers in his ear, telling him that, in the story she made up, he is now a male dragon who married into the Silver Dragon clan. He's been in a coma for 2 years due to some disease and has just woken up recently. Rosweiss, tapping Leon's chest with her index finger, says that if it comes to the point where they have to meet, he'll have to play along with the identity she created. Leon tries to counter Rosweiss, but he can't say anything and remains silent. Looking at Rosweiss, Leon then says, "I got it, Your Majesty." As Rosweiss leaves, saying whatever she wants, Leon looks at her with an angry yet silent expression and thinks, "Female dragon." If she thinks he'll listen to her obediently. Leon, with a smirking smile, looks at her and thinks that he's going to embarrass Rosweiss in front of her sister. Rosweiss has gone to welcome her sister. Moon and Noah head to the study room as their mother is given a task to learn how to write their names. Now in the children's study of the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon teaches Moon and Noah how to write their names. On 2 small pieces of paper, he writes their names. Leon instructs them to follow what he just showed them, watching how he moves his pen while writing the letters. As Leon teaches his 2 adorable daughters, Moon, wagging her little tail, listens attentively, while Noah, as usual, remains expressionless while listening to her father's lessons. Leon hands each daughter a paper with their names written on it and tells them to imitate what he wrote and practice it several times. Moon curiously and enthusiastically looks at her paper with her name on it, while Noah, folding her hands, looks at hers coldly. After inspecting the letters, Noah looks up at her father and says it's not as good as what her mother wrote. Taken aback by her remark, Leon calls out to Noah. As Leon stands up from his seat, Moon curiously asks what their dad is going to do. Leon tells her that he forgot to give something to their mother, so he's going to take it to her. Leon quickly leaves the room, waving his hand at his 2 daughters, cheerfully telling them he'll come back to check on their progress later. Moon responds by waving back at him, while Noah, coldly watching, asks if he is stupid. Moon laughs cheerfully at Noah's remark, though it seems she is somewhat happy. Noah denies this, insisting she's not, and tells Moon to hurry up and start writing. As Noah looks down at the paper Leon gave her, she remains silent and blushes. I learned from a comment made by a subscriber that Noah is truly a daddy's girl, and the plot seems to be focusing more on her relationship with her father. At the Silver Dragon Castle gate, Rosweiss's elder sister, Aisha Melkveh, the Red Dragon Queen, enters the castle. Upon seeing her sister, Rosweiss runs over and quickly hugs her, smiling cheerfully. "Long time no see." Rosweiss exclaims. Aisha, looking at Rosweiss, responds that she hasn't seen her for a year and notes that Rosweiss looks much more rosy. Blushing and holding her cheek, Rosweiss asks if Aisha means it. She then denies her sister's compliment, saying she doesn't think that's true. Aisha, looking around, asks Rosweiss she heard that her husband has woken up, but wonders why she can't see him. Rosweiss laughs and explains that he is feeling a little unwell today and cannot meet for the time being. Aisha expresses her disappointment, saying it's a pity because she wants to see what the Dragon King who kidnapped her sister looks like. Aisha leans closer to Rosweiss and tells her that the Dragon King's bonding is all about profit and clan, with no love involved. However, she mentions that the man and her family married and had a baby at lightning speed. She says that their relationship must be very good and asks if she's right. Rosweiss, blushing and turning her head away, asks if being married and having children necessarily means their relationship is good. She insists that she is not attracted to him, not now and not in the future. Aisha, observing Rosweiss, internally thinks she still tries to act tough as she always has. Changing the subject, Rosweiss clings to her sister and suggests they go to the garden to chat while walking. As Rosweiss and Aisha smile and talk while making their way toward the garden, someone spies on them. Of course, it's Leon. Who else will do that except him? Leon, using a periscope to observe them from the castle, notes, so, she is Rosweiss's sister. With a plan forming in his mind, Leon thinks to himself that he will see how far the dragon pattern can reach. As Rosweiss and her sister Aisha arrive in the garden, Aisha tells Rosweiss that the Dragon Clan has been a little unstable lately, especially with the Red Flame Dragon King. That guy has been very active recently, she adds. Hearing her words, Rosweiss's expression changes. With a serious look on her face, she asks, "Is it really Constantine? Isn't he the one who hasn't been seen for years?" Aisha shrugs, saying, "Who knows? He's a hot-tempered guy, maybe he wants to take the opportunity to expand his territory. Suddenly, the dragon mark on Rosweiss's chest starts glowing brightly. Taken aback by the sudden response from the mark, Rosweiss's eyes widen as she gazes at it, realizing it's activated at this time. Noticing Rosweiss's distraction, Aisha asks, "What's wrong?" Rosweiss awkwardly laughs and denies saying anything is amiss, urging her sister to continue. However, Rosweiss, with frustration, angrily looks at the silver dragon castle, thinking, "Damn dragon slayer." Aisha continues, saying that, just in case, they need to strengthen the border defense. She mentions she will also send Zenlong to contact her if there are any new developments. While her sister talks, Rosweiss is distracted by the dragon pattern on her chest. Grinning her teeth, she struggles to control her intensifying inner desires under the dragon pattern influence. Blushing, her face turns red as she trembles under the effects of the dragon pattern. Wrapping her hands around herself, Rosweiss thinks that the mark's effects are growing stronger and stronger. If it continues like this, she knows she won't be able to hold on much longer, and she moans softly. Noticing Rosweiss is once again absent-minded, Aisha turns back to her and asks, if little Rose is really okay? Her face is red. Blushing and trembling, Rosweiss looks away and replies that she suddenly remembered something urgent to deal with and will be back in about 20 minutes. Aisha encourages her to go ahead and asks if she wants her to accompany her. Rosweiss, turning back, walking away angrily, tells her sister that there's no need for that. Aisha already understands what's going on. As she watches Rosweiss leave, she giggles, saying, "The dragon pattern, young people are playing around with it." Meanwhile, Leon, chilling by himself, remarks to himself that he wants to see how long Rosweiss can endure. Rosweiss bursts into the room, slamming the door, and calls out angrily for Leon. Seeing her back so soon, Leon asks how come she returned so quickly. Rosweiss gets close to Leon, grabbing his collar. Rosweiss angrily accuses him of deliberately choosing this time to make the dragon pattern resonate just to embarrass her in front of her sister. Seeing Rosweiss's anger, Leon thinks to himself that he'd better pretend to be innocent and fool her. Playing the innocent card, he looks affectionately at Rosweiss, making a crying face as he gazes into her eyes. He asks if it is wrong for him to want her. Hearing Leon's words, Rosweiss is taken aback and releases his collar. Her face turns as red as a tomato from the embarrassment of his words. To hide her emotions, Rosweiss covers her face with her hand. Leon, looking at her and smiling, thinks with surprise that his acting seems to have worked. He wonders if at least she's disgusted with him now. Blushing and turning away, Rosweiss glances at Leon and calls him shameless, saying that a defeated prisoner shouldn't be talking such rubbish. She tells him to put away his dirty thoughts. Leon remains silent, smiling. As Rosweiss looks at him with a flushed face, she thinks that she clearly came here to deal with him, so why did she get scared by just a few words? Leaving with an angry blush, Rosweiss says he's lucky this time. And she warns if he does this again next time, she won't let him go. Leon, with a teasing gesture, internally thinks he's so scared. He reflects that a single dirty word can make her so helpless. This dragon pattern is indeed powerful. As he ponders this, his face turns red as he wonders why his heart beats so fast whenever he thinks of her face. Composing, he tells himself, "Cosmode, wake up and stop thinking about nonsense." Leon reminds himself that the kids are still waiting for him to come back. It seems that Leon and Rosweiss are starting to develop feelings for each other, marking a new turn in the plot. In the study room, Noah diligently practices writing. Meanwhile, Moon is slacking off and asks why Dad hasn't come back yet. At the Silver Dragon Castle at night, Aisha waves goodbye to Rosweiss, saying that she will leave today. Rosweiss, also waving, tells her sister to be careful on the road. Aisha transforms into her red dragon form and asks Rosweiss to let her meet her husband next time. Rosweiss agrees, saying they'll talk more next time. Aisha, along with her knights, flies back to her castle, while Rosweiss stands watching her sister's departure. I thought there would be some troublemaking plot in this chapter, but I didn't expect Aisha's departure. Well, let's see what future chapters bring in terms of family trouble. Rosweiss, with a serious expression, looks intensely ahead without saying anything. Turning back toward the Silver Dragon Castle, gritting her teeth in frustration, she thinks, "Damn Dragon Slayer, she still hasn't taught him a proper lesson. She'll teach him one tonight." As Rosweiss thinks about Leon dearly, on the other side, he sneezes constantly. Leon wonders if the female dragon is scolding him. He then reads a storybook called The Story of the Young Dragon as a bedtime story for Moon and Noah. As they listen, they fall asleep. They're incredibly cute in their sleep, right? Noticing they're all asleep, Leon quietly closes the storybook. He then fully covers his cute, adorable little daughters with a blanket, whispering, "Don't catch a cold." Leon slowly walks out of the room, careful not to wake his daughters, and gently closes the door behind him. Rosweiss, in anger, suddenly slams the closed door with her hand loudly, catching Leon off guard. Rosweiss, looking at Leon with a serious face, asks where he wants to go. Leon, with an awkward expression, turns to Rosweiss and asks if her sister is gone. Rosweiss, with something in mind and a smirking smile, tells Leon they still have things to do today. Rosweiss then grabs Leon's shirt collar and drags him along, telling him to follow her. Leon resists, saying no to Rosweiss. Of course, she still drags him away. In the Silver Dragon Queen's bedroom, Leon prepares hot water in a small tub and loudly drops it in front of Rosweiss. Looking at her, Leon tells Rosweiss that the hot water is ready and asks what she wants it for. Rosweiss, putting her feet in front of Leon, tells him she's very tired after walking all day and requests him to wash her feet. Leon, taken aback by Rosweiss, looks at her in surprise with a serious expression. Rosweiss, arrogantly looking at Leon, tells him to stop talking nonsense and do what he's told. This is his punishment for what he did today. Leon, taking off her heels in frustration, thinks he's a dragon slayer, but now he has to become a foot-washing slave to a female dragon. Leon, looking at Rosweiss's feet, thinks that the damn female dragon really knows how to enjoy herself. He doesn't know how many corpses of dragon slayers she has stepped on with those feet. Rosweiss, noticing Leon's smiling face while looking at her feet, wonders why he is staring at them. Rosweiss, taken aback, thinks if it could be some disgusting habit. Her face turns red thinking about it. Leon playfully and suddenly puts Rosweiss's feet in hot water, telling her to get down here. Rosweiss, shocked by his sudden action, feels the burning sensation of the too hot water on her feet. She then kicks Leon's chin, saying it's too hot. As she kicks him, Leon coughs up blood from his mouth. Leon then hits the ground hard because of Rosweiss. Rosweiss, stepping on Leon's chest and looking coldly at him, asks if Leon is trying to take revenge on her on purpose, questioning if she's right. Leon, arrogantly smiling, says, "Who asked him to wash her feet?" Rosweiss, with a blushed face, looks at Leon and says it seems he still doesn't have a long memory. Rosweiss, slowly dragging her feet from Leon's chest to his lower body, remarks that he must have never thought one day he would be stepped on by a dragon. As Rosweiss steps on his lower body, Leon can't resist the sensation. His face turns red from Rosweiss's touch, and in a broken voice, he tells her to stop. Leon, frustrated, thinks about the humiliating yet oddly comfortable feeling. Rosweiss, pressing on his lower body, arrogantly says that she wants to see how long he can endure. Leon, looking at Rosweiss with a flushed face, thinks that he cannot succumb to the tyranny of the female dragon. Pulling himself together, Leon catches Rosweiss's leg. Getting up from the ground, he confidently states that he has eaten pig's trotters, cow's trotters, and goat's trotters, but he's never eaten dragon's trotters. Taken aback by Leon's words and with a red face, Rosweiss asks what he is doing. Leon then cheerfully bites Rosweiss's leg, saying, "Tonight's snack, raw dragon claws." As he bites her leg, Rosweiss angrily screams at Leon, threatening to kill him. The next morning, Moon and Noah wake from their sleep. Noah is fully awake, but Moon is still half asleep. As Rosweiss enters, her leg is covered in bandages. Noticing this, Moon asks her mom why she limps when she walks. Rosweiss simply replies, "It's nothing." On Rosweiss's side, Leon's cheek is covered with a patch. Moon turns to Leon and asks her dad why there are bruises on his face. Leon, folding his arms like Rosweiss, tells Moon it's nothing. Unable to figure out what is going on, Moon places both hands on her waist and thinks deeply, looking at Leon and Rosweiss with a questioning yet concerned expression. Suddenly, a thought strikes Moon's little brain. With excitement and bright eyes, she raises her hand and exclaims that they must have played some fun games without telling Moon. Moon wants to join in too. Noah, folding her arms and looking at Moon with a blank face, remains silent as she observes her. Leon and Rosweiss walk to the garden outside the Silver Dragon Castle. Both are looking away, each walking in their own way. One maid tells another maid to look, saying the queen and the prince are dating. The blue-haired maid giggles and remarks what a lovely couple they are. However, she adds that she feels the queen and the prince don't seem very familiar with each other. The other maid simply watches them with contentment. Rosweiss and Leon continue walking without talking to each other, the silence between them growing. Leon, watching Rosweiss from behind, wonders why things turned out this way, thinking it's because of her. Some time earlier, Rossweiss had suggested they take a walk together. Leon, shocked, had asked why he should go for a walk with her. Rossweiss replied that it was his job to maintain the false appearance of family harmony in front of outsiders. Back in the garden, Leon looks at Rossweiss and feels that something is off about her today. She's not usually so proactive. He wonders what she is planning. Meanwhile, Moon and Noah, hiding behind a tree, observe their mom and dad. Moon mutters that dad is so stupid, he can't even hold hands. Suddenly, an idea strikes Moon's little brain, and with determination and bright eyes, she clenches her tiny fists and declares that she's going to help them. Noah, taken aback, tells her to wait, but Moon doesn't listen. She jumps up and runs toward them. Noah shouts for her to leave them alone, but Moon, already in motion, ignores Noah's words. Moon calls out to her mom and dad as she runs toward them. Hearing her voice, Leon and Rossweiss turn to see Moon racing toward them. Leon asks why Moon followed him. Moon grabs Leon and Rossweiss by surprise, holding each of their hands. She then combines their hands, making them hold hands with each other. Both Leon and Rossweiss are startled by Moon's sudden actions. Moon cheerfully says that when taking a walk, they should hold hands. Quickly turning back, Moon runs away, saying she's going to play with her sister. Leon watches Moon leave and wonders where this child learned such things. When Moon returns to Noah, Noah pinches her cheeks for not listening to her. Moon, tearing up cutely, admits she was wrong, promises not to do it again, and asks her sister to let go. Leon and Rossweiss look back with blank, confused expressions. Leon, blushing and looking away, says this is a bit unexpected and asks what he should do. Rossweiss, also blushing, says it's okay and tells him to just hold it like this. As Leon and Rossweiss continue walking, Leon mentions that she seems extra docile today, which makes him feel a little uncomfortable. Rossweiss replies that it seems like she has tamed him, and now that they are getting along, he's not used to it. While they chat and walk, Moon and Noah watch them from behind a tree. Leon looks at Rossweiss and thinks about how she has always presented herself as a queen in front of others, but he didn't expect her to be so flustered by something as small as holding hands. He wonders if her strictness as a mother is simply because she doesn't know how to connect with her children. Leon then comments that Moon and Noah always call her mother in front of others, and asks Rossweiss if that's an issue. Leon says that, as she can see, the normal way of addressing parents pairs dad with mom. He mentions that Moon always calls him dad but calls her mother, and asks if that makes her seem more distant. Rossweiss, looking away, asks if there's really a big difference between mother and mom. Leon, looking at Rossweiss, smiling brightly at her, replies that there is, and suggests she try getting them to call her mom instead. He bets they'll feel closer to her that way. Rossweiss's face turns red, taken aback by Leon's words and cheerfulness. Composing herself, she says she understands and will try it next time. Leon, surprised by her sudden enthusiasm, asks why she's walking so fast. As Leon and Rossweiss continue walking in the garden, Rossweiss suddenly asks if Leon is homesick. He questions why she's bringing it up all of a sudden since she won't let him go back anyway. Rossweiss replies that she can't send him home but there's something that might help ease his homesickness a little. Leon, confused, remains silent. As they walk on, they arrive at the castle's warehouse. Standing before the large door, Leon wonders about it, and Rossweiss explains that she never gave it a name. He can call it a warehouse, a utility room, or whatever he likes, as it doesn't matter. Rossweiss unlocks the warehouse door with the keys in her hand. As they enter, Leon looks around and remarks, "The dragon's treasure trove." Finding a bracelet, he says that if it were placed in the Empire, it could be sold for at least hundreds of thousands of gold coins. Rossweiss tells him that it's the bracelet her grandmother gave her when she was a child, and adds that, besides the spoils, there are also some items that hold personal meaning to her. Leon, looking at Rossweiss, comments that he hasn't heard her speak much about her family, except for her sister. Rossweiss explains that she never met her father or mother, she and her sister were raised by their grandmother. Hearing this, Leon says it's similar to his own experience. He grew up in an orphanage and never knew his parents until he was adopted by his master and his wife. Leon then asks why she brought him here to show him. Rossweiss, opening a treasure chest, says she has something that might temporarily make him forget his troubles. Leon remains silent, still confused. When Rossweiss opens the chest, Leon, surprised, exclaims, "It's the black gold armor." Rossweiss asks if he hasn't always wanted to get that armor back, and if she's right. Leon, in disbelief, asks if he's dreaming and if she's really going to give it to him. With a cunning smile and a dark expression, Rossweiss confirms it. As Leon touches the chest of the black armor, a blue light begins to glow. Shocked, Leon realizes it's enchanted with a dragon mark. Internally, he thinks, "Black gold armor, my good brother, how come you have fallen as well?" Rosweiss, smirking, tells Leon he has finally fallen into the trap. Leon, now angry, clenches his teeth as he glares at her. As a formation appears beneath Leon, he angrily asks Rosweiss what she did to him. The dragon mark on Leon's chest begins glowing, intensifying. Rosweiss watches him with a smile. The dragon mark on Rosweiss's chest also reacts to Leon's dragon mark. It's clear that Rosweiss is the one who activated it on Leon's chest to advance their romance-driven revenge. Rosweiss arrogantly explains that she attached a dragon pattern to the surface of his armor that enhances its properties, and the moment he touched the armor, it activated. Leon suddenly falls to the ground due to the intense pressure upon him. As the dragon mark burns on his chest, Leon clutches his chest, shaking. Gritting his teeth in anger, he thinks of the despicable female dragon and realizes he was careless. Rosweiss, laughing at Leon, says that the enhanced dragon pattern has doubled its effect. Holding Leon's chin and lifting his head to meet her gaze, she arrogantly asks if her dear dragon slayer can endure it. Leon trembles under the dragon mark's influence, glaring at Rosweiss through gritted teeth. With a voice full of hatred and resentment, Leon angrily calls out Rosweiss's name. Rosweiss then pushes Leon to the ground, and as he hits the floor, he lets out light screams in pain. Leon's face flushes red as his emotions intensify. Frustrated, he internally admits he can't move his body, but the urge in his lower body is stronger than ever. Rosweiss climbs on top of Leon, and with a smirk, she asks if he thinks she doesn't bear any grudge for being conquered by him before. Leon, lying beneath her, can't do anything but glare at her angrily, as he has lost control over his body. Rosweiss tells him that for the past few days, she has been thinking about how to take her revenge and make him lower his guard, but she didn't expect him to be fooled so easily. Leon's face reddens further as his inner desires grow, fueled by the dragon mark on his chest. Hearing Rosweiss's words, Leon angrily mutters, "The female dragon," in frustration. Rosweiss's face also flushes red from the intimate situation, and she teasingly asks Leon if her acting skills aren't quite good. As Rosweiss continues to dominate Leon's body, Leon yells at her angrily. He asks if everything she told him today was a lie, about never meeting her parents and letting Moon call her mom and hold her hand. Rosweiss denies it, saying that everything is true, but it doesn't change what she's about to do to him now. As Rosweiss removes her clothes, she asks Leon what he told her before, whether she likes to conquer. Being naked and looking at Leon's flustered face, Rosweiss smirks and admits with a smile that she does indeed like to conquer. Leaning closer to Leon, climbing over him naked, she gazes into his eyes and teasingly asks if her dear husband is ready. Leon, frustrated by the situation, remains helpless. You all know what's going to happen next, as Rosweiss places her hands on Leon, so let's move forward. After a while, Leon, with a crying yet traumatized expression, thinks to himself, finally, it's over. Rosweiss, leaning on his chest to Leon and looking at him with affectionate eyes and smiles. Rosweiss's tail wraps around Leon, keeping him bound and unable to move. Leon observes her smile, staying silent. Leon, looking at Rosweiss with a cold voice, asks what she is doing. Rosweiss suddenly holds Leon's face and says that compared to 2 years ago, the scars on his face have faded a little, but he looks more haggard, worn by the vicissitudes of life, with more of the flavor of a mature man. Unmoved by her words, Leon retorts that she's trying to play tricks on him again, and he won't fall for it this time. In response, Rosweiss smiles lightly at Leon. Rosweiss looking back at Leon, she remarks that he's gotten smarter. Leon, instantly suspicious, turns to Rosweiss with a questioning look as she hesitates, stopping mid-sentence with "but." Rosweiss, with a flushed face, laughs at him and says that his health is not as good as it used to be. Hearing her words, Leon's eyes widen in shock, feeling as if the universe has collapsed around him. It's as if he lost his soul with just one sentence from Rosweiss. His face pales, imagining her words implying that he's not in the same shape as before. Leon's imagination spirals, interpreting Rosweiss's remark to mean he's no longer as fit as he once was. As his thoughts run wild, his jaw drops wider and wider, he's not as good as before. Leon then finally screams loudly, overwhelmed by his fears as still his imagination running wild. The next day at the Silver Dragon Castle, Leon appears with dark circles and bags under his eyes. As Leon opens the door, he announces that he is coming. When Leon enters the room, he finds Rosweiss and Noah inside. Seeing him, Rosweiss folds her arms and greets him with a good morning. Rossweiss with a mocking tone, smirking as she remarks that it seems he didn't sleep well last night. Leon, gritting his teeth in anger, retorts that it's all because of what she said. Rossweiss, laughing, teasingly claims that she doesn't remember anything. From the side, Noah watches the exchange between Leon and Rossweiss and thinks, it's starting again. Rossweiss shifts the conversation, mentioning that the entrance exam for St. Heath Academy is very strict and tells Leon he should start tutoring Noah on dragon knowledge today. As she gets closer to Leon, leaning in and whispering in his ear, she taunts him, saying that, for now, he can only demonstrate his value in other areas. Hearing her words, Leon, fueled by anger, snaps back that he was simply not in a good state yesterday. With a determined look on his face, Leon points his finger at Rossweiss and loudly declares that he will make sure Noah passes the test. However, at the same time, he wants to use this opportunity to exchange something of equal value from her. Rossweiss says she's willing to agree to Leon's request, but warns him that it can't be too excessive. Leon firmly responds that a promise is a promise. Laughing, Rossweiss leaves, telling him he should study hard, and with a mocking tone, she calls him dear and warns him not to get too tired. Fueled by anger, Leon shouts after her, that female dragon, she's done. Rossweiss waves her hand dismissively as she walks away. Noah, watching the interaction, asks why he quarreled with her mom. Leon, folding his arms, denies it and says it's just their daily communication. Leon, realizing with surprise, asks Noah what she called her mother. Noah responds, saying Mom. Leon, taken aback, steps closer to Noah and asks if she was told to change the name to that. He then inquires whether she prefers the old name or the current one. Noah, looking away with a light blush, replies that she prefers the current one. Leon smiles brightly at her and says he knew they'd love it. Noah, surprised by her father's cheerful demeanor, remains silent as she looks at him. Turning to leave, she asks when they can start studying. Leon, taken aback, tells Noah to wait for him. In the Silver Dragon Castle's children's study room, Leon is deeply engrossed in books, preparing to teach Noah for the upcoming entrance exam at Dragon Academy. As Rossweiss enters the room, she asks Leon why he hasn't gone to bed since it's so late. Without looking up, Leon explains that Noah has a remarkable ability to learn and understand, so simple teaching methods won't be effective for her. He shares his plan to organize key knowledge points and combine them with practice questions, which means he has to stay up late to prepare the lessons. Confidently, Leon states that Noah is a very smart child, and he's sure he can help her pass the test within a month. Rossweiss arrogantly replies that it's inevitable since Noah takes after her. With a smirking smile, Leon looks at her and remarks that's not necessarily the case. Placing his hand on his chest, Leon with a light smile declares that he was a dragon-slaying genius, always graduating first in both written and practical exams every year, earning all the highest-level scholarships. Then, smirking at Rossweiss, he asks what champion titles Her Majesty holds. Rossweiss, stunned by his intellect and impressive academic background, is left speechless, her jaw dropping as she struggles to find a response. Rossweiss, looking at Leon with sharp eyes, thinks to herself that she always thought he was a reckless man who only knew how to fight and kill. She never expected him to also be a top student. Smiling, Rossweiss counters Leon by sarcastically asking how someone so powerful ended up as her prisoner. Leon, growing frustrated, replies that he lost only that one time. Leon then, with a cute pout and crying face, says that one misstep can lead to eternal regret, comparing himself to a tiger bullied by a dragon in troubled times. Rossweiss chuckles at his cuteness and teases him, saying he must be afraid of being ridden by a dragon. Rossweiss's attention then shifts to the table, where she notices some chili peppers and curiously asks what he's planning to do with them. Leon, turning to her question, picks up a chili pepper, saying he took it from the kitchen to refresh himself. As Leon moves to take a bite, Rossweiss screams in concern, telling him to stop, but it's too late, he's already taken a bite of the chili. Panicked, Rossweiss explains that it's a dragon's yellow pepper, meant for dragons, and she's afraid a human like him won't be able to handle it. As soon as Leon chews, the intense spiciness hits him, his face turning redder by the second. The chili was so spicy, Leon let out a fiery breath, as if flames were about to shoot from his mouth. "It's so spicy!" Leon exclaims. Leon then begins running around the room, desperately searching for water, while Rossweiss watches, unable to offer any help. As Leon runs around the room, Rossweiss suddenly grabs his face with her hands. She gently touches his cheeks, and as they stand close to each other, Leon is stunned by the moment as he realizes how close they are. His face turns a shade of red as he glances at Rossweiss's hands on his cheeks, feeling a warmth rise inside him. Blushing, Ross Weiss looks away, awkwardly explaining that her hands are cooler and might make him feel more comfortable. Leon, now feeling the comfort of her touch, slowly places his hands over hers, appreciating the soothing sensation. He, once fierce like a tiger, now softens like a kitten in her grasp, gently rubbing his face against her hands. His blush deepens as he notices how cool and comforting her fingertips feel, not sharp like ice but instead a gentle, refreshing coolness. Fitting perfectly into her touch, Leon feels at ease. Leon, finally calming down, thanks Ross Weiss, telling her that he feels much better now. She acknowledges him with a nod and slowly releases his cheeks. Both of their faces turn red, flustered by the intimacy of the moment. They glance away from each other, overwhelmed with embarrassment. Leon, feeling the heat from the moment and the tension in the air, struggles to breathe, while Ross Weiss, blushing, stares at the ground, unsure of what to say next. I thought there was going to be a kiss scene. As I was reading, I was hyped to see what would happen next, but I was left disappointed. Why do authors always disappoint us like this? Well, if they won't give us one, let's create our own kiss scene real quick. Ross Weiss notices a chili pepper on the desk and asks about it. Leon casually tells her he brought it from the kitchen for a refresh. He then takes a bite of the chili pepper. As he does, Ross Weiss warns him to wait because it's too spicy for humans. But it's too late. After biting it, Leon's face turns bright red, unable to handle the spiciness. He screams, "It's so spicy!" and begins running around the room, desperately searching for water. In his panic, he runs toward Ross Weiss, who suddenly stops him by gently holding his face, her hands cupping his cheeks. A romantic tension fills the air as their eyes meet, stirring deep emotions between them. Leon's heart skips a beat, his eyes widening as he realizes how close they are. And as they stand close to each other, Leon is stunned by the moment. Looking at her hands, his face turns even redder, not just from the spice but from his racing heart. Ross Weiss, blushing and looking away, tells him softly, her hands are cold, so they should help him feel comfortable. Leon slowly succumbs to her touch, feeling an incredible comfort under her gentle hands. He thinks her hands are icy, but the touch brings him pleasure. As Leon relaxes under her touch, he reflects on how gentle Ross Weiss is. Without realizing it, he instinctively gets closer to her, losing awareness of everything around them, including what had happened just moments before. In that moment, as his heart races, he slowly leans in and kisses her lips, a soft, romantic gesture that locks them in an intimate moment. The kiss feels perfect, deepening their connection and marking a new, lovely chapter in their relationship. Coming to his senses, Leon pulls away in embarrassment and thanks Ross Weiss. She acknowledges him with a gentle nod before releasing his cheeks. Both their faces turn bright red, the warmth of the kiss still lingering between them. They look away, feeling shy and embarrassed. Leon feels a bit suffocated from the heat of the moment, while Ross Weiss, blushing, stares at the ground, unsure of what to say next. This is how it has to be the story. I'm looking forward to the flood of comments on the romantic moment we've created. Let's not mess around more and continue. As Ross Weiss prepares to leave, she tells Leon to go to bed early and not to eat too much chili. She warns him that if his mouth gets too spicy, he'll have to teach Noah using sign language. Leon brushes her off, saying, "He got it." But as Ross Weiss leaves, Leon watches her, blushing, thinking to himself that he actually wanted her to touch his face a little longer. Snapping back to reality, Leon grits his teeth in frustration and tells himself to wake up. He thinks bitterly that Ross Weiss is the evil dragon who cornered him, squeezed him like crazy, and then had the nerve to tell him he didn't have enough physical strength. Freaking out, Leon realizes that just thinking about it feels a bit perverted. Determined to regain his strength, Leon turns to his books, searching for a solution. He flips through the pages, reading about different remedies. First, he comes across information about red dragon fruit, which helps regulate chi and blood, but dismisses it, thinking it's not what he needs. Then, he reads about lotus grass, which regulates digestion and treats external injuries, but again, he decides it's not the answer. Finally, Leon finds what he's been searching for, Dragon Big Force, a highly effective health tonic that harmonizes yin and yang, nourishes the body, and strengthens physical strength. Excited, Leon exclaims with joy, "This is it. This is what he was looking for." The next morning at Silver Dragon Castle, Leon tells Noah that the test she took has been corrected, and the full score is 100. He asks her to guess how much she scored. Noah, thinking for a moment, guesses, 50 points. Leon then cheerfully shows her the test paper, announcing that she scored 62 points, higher than she expected. Noah looks at the test paper with a small pout, her face serious. Clenching her little fists with determination, she remains silent, offering no response to her remarks. Leon, noticing her silence, wonders if she's dissatisfied with her score. Realizing to himself he thinks this kid has high standards for herself. Noah taking the test paper into her hands, she intensely studies the test paper. Looking at her, Leon thinks that Noah should be playing carefree like Moon, but instead, she took the initiative to go to school and study. Leon with a caring smile, he gently pats Noah's head, telling her that scoring 62 points on her first try is pretty impressive. Noah, surprised by her father's affection, blushes slightly. Noah then slowly thanks him for his encouragement. Leon then shifts the focus, telling her, "Next, let's focus on the mistakes." As he speaks, Leon coughs repeatedly several times. He apologizes to Noah for it. Leon, holding his throat, thinks to himself that in an effort to stay awake and cheer himself up, he had eaten a few more peppers than he should have last night. He wonders if the excess chili is the reason his throat feels itchy now. Seeing him cough, Noah remembers her mother's words. Rossweiss had told her that Leon stayed up late making a study plan for her, and although he might seem unreliable at times, he's still a top student. She also mentioned that Leon had eaten the Dragon Clan's extra spicy yellow pepper to keep himself awake, so it would be surprising if his throat was fine. Calmly, Noah reaches into her pocket and takes out a small box. She hands it to Leon, saying it's for him. Surprised, Leon opens the box and asks if it's really for him. Noah reveals that it was actually their mom who gave it to her for him. Leon, taking out a lozenge or some medicine to soothe his throat, smiles and tells Noah to thank her mother for him. As he places the remedy in his mouth, Leon internally reflects that Noah is just like Rossweiss, cold and reserved on the outside, but not very good at expressing kindness directly. Feeling better, Leon cheerfully says, "All right, let's continue learning." Noah, with a cute and determined expression, agrees. In that moment, the bond between father and daughter grows just a little closer. "Well, I'm not sure if it's fully developed yet, but it's definitely progressing according to the story, I guess. We still miss Moon in this chapter, though. Sigh, it's a pity again this week. Let's add her a bit, just for our satisfaction." So, Leon, Moon, and Noah sit down to study. Leon teaches Moon the basics, guiding her through the material. After that, he gives Noah an assignment to work on once his teaching session with Moon is over. At the Silver Dragon Castle kitchen, Leon is up to something. Let's see what it is. The maids bring the items Leon requested. One of the maids, addressing Leon as Lord Prince, informs him that the herbs he asked for are all here. Leon, understanding this, points to a designated spot on the table and instructs them to place everything there. The maids then leave after handing over the ingredients. With a light smile, Leon thinks to himself that he intentionally requested extra herbs so the maids wouldn't suspect what he was planning. Leon's outfit in this chapter has changed, it looks quite cool after so many chapters. Looking at the herbs, Leon observes that the medicinal materials required to prepare Dragon Great Force are quite common and that the refining process doesn't seem too complicated. However, as he recalls the process, he wonders why the text mentions that even the most outstanding pharmacists of the Dragon Clan have a low success rate when concocting Dragon Great Force. Leon begins making the Dragon Force. He recites the steps. First, grind and mix the desired herbs. Then, add them to the pot in a specific order and boil them. Leon continues with the process, working diligently for several hours. Eventually, in frustration, Leon holds his head and screams loudly, "It failed again." He admits that it's not as easy as it seems. Saddened by the outcome, he looks at his failed attempts and mutters that he followed the instructions from the book multiple times, but every attempt ended in failure at the final step, drug purification and separation. Leon continues with the process, refusing to let himself feel discouraged. He remarks that the high-temperature separation method described in the book is tricky. Too high a temperature will deactivate the drug, while too low a temperature will fail to purify it. Shaking the drug jar, he mutters that achieving the desired separation effect manually is impossible without professional instruments. As he shakes the jar, Leon recalls his master's words, "If one way doesn't work, look for another." Inspired by this, Leon starts to wonder if there might be other effective ways to separate the medicinal residue. Suddenly, the sky roars with thunder, the result of the bad rainy weather. Looking up, Leon notices the stormy sky and comments that it's going to rain soon. He gets up to close the windows, but as he gazes outside, the sound of thunder lingers in his mind. He begins to ponder over the concepts of lightning and thunder, repeatedly turning the idea over in his head. Then, Leon's eyes widen as he recalls something. He exclaims, realizing that his teacher had once mentioned in an alchemy class that electrolysis of impurities sometimes has a higher success rate than roasting with fire. This sparks a sudden idea, and Leon rushes to experiment with this newfound inspiration. Internally, Leon wonders if it might be possible to use the thunder element for separation, a method not mentioned in the book. Determined, he prepares to put his theory to the test. Leon, preparing for the next step, reminds himself that he is best at lightning magic. Although he has only recovered a small portion of his magical power, he feels it is more than enough for this kind of precise manipulation. Deciding to use his lightning magic instead of fire, Leon carefully begins refining the dragon force. Don't forget, Leon just lost his magical powers because he used a forbidden technique on Rosweiss, and now he's still in a recovery state with no powers. Let's see in future chapters. Half an hour later, Leon succeeds. Holding the finished dragon force in his hand, he finally feels a sense of accomplishment. Smiling, he places it in a small box and comments to himself that the Dragon Clan's medicine is surprisingly simple to make. Just then, Moon, his adorable daughter, enters the kitchen. Spotting the chocolate-like small rounded shaped thing in Leon's hand, she curiously asks what he is making. Leon glances at her and casually replies, "It's good stuff." As he hears her voice more clearly, Leon looks at Moon remaining silent, processing his thoughts. Moon, on the other hand, looks up at him with enthusiasm, eager for an answer. Suddenly realizing her presence, Leon snaps out of his thoughts and calls out Moon's name in surprise. Quickly closing the box, Leon pats Moon's head and reassures her, "It's nothing." However, Moon remains curious about what she saw and asks if it is a candy in Dad's hand. Leon, showing her the closed box, explains, "It's medicine, something Dad made for Mom." Moon's expression shifts to one of concern as she asks, "Why does Mom need medicine? Is she sick?" Leon, putting the medicine in his pocket and patting Moon's head, denies her and says he saw that her mom has been too busy recently, so he will give her some nourishment and tells Moon not to worry. Internally, he thinks that he actually made it for himself to eat. Moon then tells her dad that he must take good care of Mom. Leon, smiling at Moon, says, "Of course, that's what a dad should do." But internally, Leon, with a dark face and giggling, thinks that he'll really take good care of her once he's recovered. Finally, they are willing to show Moon here after 3 weeks and make us miss Noah. I uploaded a cat short on my channel 9 days ago, and I was expecting more views from my subscribers. According to the analysis, no more than 200 people watched it. However, it surprisingly reached 2 lakh views, which shows it has potential, and I know it's not a miracle. Still, I'm disappointed by the lack of support from my subscribers, as I was hoping for more engagement from you all. Even YouTube recommended me to watch it too, and I'm wondering if it wasn't recommended to you guys. I'm hoping you'll check it out after watching this video. On that rainy night, the rain pours down heavily with thunderstorms. Leon, in his bedroom, tossing the medicine box, thinks that although the Dragon Great Force has been cultivated, he wonders if the Dragon Clan's nutritional supplements will have negative effects on humans. Leon catches the medicine box in his hands and, with determination, says he has to put it aside for now. Suddenly, Leon hears the knocking sound at his door. Warily, he looks at the door. Rosweiss bursts into the room, opening the door. Seeing Rosweiss, Leon quickly gets up, and while he's moving, he hides the medicine box behind his back. Leon, looking at Rosweiss, asks why Her Majesty is here. Rosweiss, folding her hands and looking at Leon with a light smile as she walks toward him, says that she heard from Moon that he made her a medicine that looked like chocolate candy to regulate her body. Leon chooses not to answer her and looks away, thinking his little cotton-padded jacket leaked out so quickly. Rosweiss tells Leon not to be nervous, she's not here to question him or anything. She's just surprised that he can make medicine in such a simple environment. Rosweiss, looking at Leon, extends her hand toward him and, with an arrogant tone in her voice, asks what he refined and if he can show it to her. Leon, with hesitation, looks at Rosweiss. Handing over the medicine box, he says that even if he said no, she would still use violence to take it away. Rosweiss then looks at the Dragon Force and, with a smile, says, "It's good. He is really amazing, Leon, to be able to refine such a perfect Dragon Great Force under such conditions." What's that saying? The man of letters and the man of arms? Leon is surprised upon hearing her words and internally thinks she didn't laugh at him. Rosweiss, closing the medicine box and looking at Leon, says he can keep this, but he can't take the medicine now. Rosweiss then gives the medicine box to Leon, who catches it. Leon, in confusion, asks why he can't take it. Rosweiss looks into Leon's eyes and says that, as a tonic for the dragon race, the medicine is too potent for a human body. Leon, making a long face, asks if the medicine is truly that powerful. Rosweiss, with a serious expression, reminds him kindly that, as a human, he cannot withstand its power. Leon pulls the dragon force out of the box and says that even without the power of a dragon, he has defeated countless dragon kings. He questions why he can't handle a small pill. Leon then arrogantly tells Rosweiss not to underestimate him. He forcefully swallows the dragon force and, with a smirk, arrogantly declares that courage is the hymn of mankind. Seeing him take the dragon force, Rosweiss calls Leon's name out in concern. Suddenly, the dragon force begins to take effect. Leon's senses heighten to dangerous levels, and he struggles to maintain control. Rosweiss, angrily calling him an asshole, yells that she's hardly ever used healing magic. In agony, Leon clutches his chest and falls to his knees. Rosweiss takes matters into her own hands and casts a spell on him, asking how he is feeling now. She tells him to let her try to break down the effects of the pill. Leon, on the other hand, looks with a dark expression, gritting his teeth. As Rosweiss does her best to remove the side effects, Leon suddenly grabs her hand, preventing her from casting the spell. Concerned, Rosweiss yells for him not to move. Leon's body is slowly and completely engulfed in thunder and lightning. Bearing the pain and clenching his teeth, Leon tells Rosweiss to look carefully. He tells the Silver Dragon Queen that this is the courage and determination of mankind. Leon then endures the pain alone. That night in Leon's bedroom, as thunder engulfs his entire body, the room fills with flashes of lightning. As the thunder and lightning intensify around Leon, he screams loudly. Having pushed Rosweiss away earlier, she can't help him now. Shocked, Rosweiss watches Leon and realizes he is using lightning magic on his own body. She wonders what on earth he is doing. Leon eventually stops channeling the lightning magic, and the thunderstorm slowly fades. His eyes go blank as he loses consciousness. As Leon collapses, Rosweiss, concerned, rushes to him, calling out his name worriedly. She catches him in her arms and gently lays him back into a sleeping position. Looking at him, Rosweiss mutters that he really is a madman. Turning to leave, she glances back and tells him to wait there while she fetches the court physician. Just as she is about to go, Leon slowly opens his eyes, his face flushed red, something clearly off. As Rosweiss is leaving, Leon raises his hand, startling her. She looks back in shock as Leon, in his drowsy state, suddenly grabs her tail, catching her off guard. Holding her tail, Leon smiles. Rosweiss, baffled, asks how he regained consciousness. Blushing, Leon suddenly sits up and rubs his cheek against her tail, giggling happily. He calls Rosweiss his wife and asks where she is going. Embarrassed and flustered, Rosweiss's face turns red. Trying to keep her composure, she panics and demands to know who he thinks his wife is. Rosweiss tries to push Leon away, attempting to free herself from his grip on her tail. She firmly tells Leon to let her go, but despite her efforts, Leon continues to hold her tail tightly. Rubbing his cheek against it, Leon says he doesn't want to let go and adds with a smile that he won't let his wife go. He happily presses his cheek to her tail, his grip unrelenting. Unable to overpower him, Rosweiss gives up and stops struggling. Leon, meanwhile, gleefully sings a wife song as he continues rubbing his cheek against her tail. Fed up, Rosweiss makes a long face, silently admitting her defeat. Looking away, she begins to think about what's happening. Rosweiss recalls that the dragon's great force is supposed to strengthen the body and shouldn't cause unconsciousness. She wonders if the magic power of the lightning element has somehow altered the effects of the medicine Leon took. When she glances at him again, her face turns red. She mutters that Leon looks like a complete idiot now, but then reassures herself that his life doesn't seem to be in any immediate danger. As Leon continues rubbing his cheeks against her tail, singing his wife song, Rosweiss lets out a sigh. She gives up on her thoughts, looks at him, and says, "All right, I'm here. What's wrong? Just tell me." Leon, blushing and looking at Rosweiss with a bright expression, calls her wife and boldly says he wants a second child. Rosweiss's face turns red with embarrassment, and she begins to panic. The shock of his sudden declaration sends chills through her body. Trying to keep her composure, Rosweiss, still blushing, looks at Leon and retorts that he hasn't even taken proper care of the 2 children from her first pregnancy, and now he's already asking for another one. She firmly tells him to forget it. Leon, however, remains stubborn. Holding onto Rosweiss's tail, he rolls around on the bed like a petulant child. As he continues to roll, Leon persistently repeats that he wants a second child and asks if it's really such a bad idea. Caught in a dilemma, Rossweiss holds her head in frustration. Weighing her options, she concludes that it might be better to agree for now to avoid unnecessary complications. Resigned, she sighs and says that they won't just have a second child, they'll have a third and a fourth as well. Hearing this, Leon's face lights up. With a cute expression, he happily says that in that case, she has to return to his hometown with him. Agreeing to whatever Leon says at this point, Rossweiss responds that they'll go back after they've settled down. Finally letting go of her tail, Leon cheers excitedly, shouting that it's wonderful. Rossweiss, watching him with a mix of awkwardness and exhaustion, thinks to herself that he's even more annoying than usual today. Leon suddenly gets close to Rossweiss, saying that his wife is so nice. He then joyfully tries to kiss her on the cheek. Taken aback by his sudden closeness and attempt to kiss her, Rossweiss swiftly reacts by holding Leon's face and pushing him away, saying, "No," taking advantage of the situation. Internally, Rossweiss struggles to understand how to handle the situation, wondering when the effect of the medicine will wear off. As Leon stubbornly persists in his actions, Rossweiss punches him hard in the face, calling him an idiot. Leon, having taken the hit, lets out a small scream. Looking at Leon, Rossweiss thinks that she couldn't help but beat him up. Leon holds his chest after taking the punch, and Rossweiss, panicking, rushes to him. Concerned, she asks if he is okay. Leon's breath becomes heavier as he grits his teeth, holding his chest tightly. He then tells Rossweiss, his wife, that he feels a little uncomfortable. Suddenly, the dragon mark on Rossweiss's chest begins to glow brightly. Shocked, Rossweiss thinks, this isn't good. She then unbuttons Leon's shirt to examine him. As she opens it, the dragon mark on Leon's chest emits a bright glow. Rossweiss wonders why the dragon pattern activated at this moment. Suddenly, Leon grabs Rossweiss by the shoulders, catching her off guard. Leon then pushes Rossweiss against the bed and climbs on top of her, holding her hands tightly. Rossweiss, calling Leon a bastard, questions what he is doing. Breathing heavily, Leon says to his wife that he feels really bad. Looking into Rossweiss's eyes, his face turning red, Leon breathes heavily and says he feels hot all over and that his chest itches. Rossweiss's face turns red due to the close contact between them. Gritting her teeth, she looks at Leon and thinks that the dragon pattern, mixed with the element of lightning, has made his body's desire to reproduce even stronger than before. Leon once again grabs Rossweiss's tail and starts sniffing it. He then says that his wife's tail smells so good and that he likes her tail the most. Internally, Rossweiss thinks that if this continues, she might lose control. Stopping Leon further, Rossweiss pushes him back by holding his face to stop him from sniffing her tail. However, Leon, still stubborn, tries his best to resist her. Rossweiss tells him that her tail drags on the ground all day long, asking if he doesn't mind that. She orders him to get off her immediately. As Rossweiss is talking, Leon places his finger on her lips, stopping her mid-sentence. Surprised by his actions, Rossweiss freezes, unsure of what to do next. Leon suddenly looks straight into Rossweiss's eyes and calls her by her first name, Maliv, saying she is so beautiful tonight. Hearing Leon's words, Rossweiss's face turns flushed because of him. Looking away, Rossweiss responds, saying that even if he says so, she's still mad at him. Internally, Rossweiss wonders what's going on. This man's attitude is completely different from before. There's a kind of madness and intensity in him that cannot be rejected. With her face still flushed, Rossweiss looks into Leon's eyes and admits to herself that she actually has a little expectation. Leon, staring deeply at Rossweiss, asks if his wife can help him. Falling into his trap with a flushed face, Rossweiss reluctantly agrees, saying, "Tonight only. You all know what's going to happen next." As always, they make love under different circumstances and reasons. That's how things have been going so far. At the Silver Dragon Castle the next morning, Leon slowly opens his eyes as he recovers from the side effects of the dragon force. As he opens his eyes, Rossweiss, who is beside him in bed with a smirking smile, looks into his eyes and asks if he is awake. Hearing Rossweiss's voice, Leon freaks out, his eyes widening in shock. Leon screams out loudly as he gets up in bed, seeing Rossweiss, and asks her, why is she here in his bed? As his body starts aching, he endures the pain and says that his whole body hurts, adding that his memory is a little fragmented. Leon then asks Rossweiss what happened last night. Rossweiss, getting down from the bed, asks if he doesn't remember anything. Looking back at Leon with a smirking smile, she points to the bruises on her body and asks, "Dragon Slayer, you didn't forget, right?" Seeing the marks on Rossweiss's body, Leon is taken aback and thinks there are so many hickeys. He wonders if it was him who did that. At that moment, Leon's fragmented memories start to recover. Slowly, one by one, he remembers everything. As the memories return, he holds his head in pain. When he fully recalls what happened, a sobered-up Leon screams loudly, holding his head, saying, "No." Rosweiss, looking at Leon with a smirking smile, asks if he remembered. Rosweiss arrogantly adds that he begged her last night, saying things like, "Honey, let's do this one last time, okay? Wife, I feel really bad, please help me, just this time, for the last time. Wife, you're incredible." As Rosweiss teases and mocks Leon, he yells loudly, telling her to stop, saying there's no need to repeat it as he remembers everything. As Leon, wearing his shirt, glances at Rosweiss with side eyes, thinks about how he originally refined the dragon's great force just to maintain his health and teach Rosweiss a lesson. He hadn't expected the drug to be so effective. Rosweiss also finishes dressing up. Leon admits that he might have gone a little too far last night. He asks her if he hurt her. Rosweiss replies that it's okay. Leon, folding his arms and looking at Rosweiss, comments that now she should know whether he is in good health or not. He adds that next time, she shouldn't say he isn't good enough. To his words, Rosweiss looks at Leon intensely, her expression serious. Suddenly, Rosweiss closes the distance between them, her gaze still intense. Leon, freaked out, asks what she's up to. Without warning, Rosweiss grabs Leon's chin, leans close to him, and, with an arrogant tone, declares that she's very satisfied with his performance last night. Calling him Dragon Slayer, she expresses her hope that he can keep it up in the future. Leon, taken aback by her words and internally screaming, wonders if he has now entered the service industry. Rosweiss steps back and mentions the bet about changing the name. Hearing this, Leon becomes alert and looks at her. If anyone forgets, just a reminder, certain chapters back I don't remember too, Leon suggested that the children call Rosweiss Mom, saying it would increase their affection for her. He had even made a bet about the possibility. Rosweiss, with a slight blush and looking away, admits that he won. She then asks if he has thought about the request he'd like to make. Leon, scratching his head with genuine expression on his face, reveals that he has thought about it. Looking at Rosweiss hesitantly, he asks if she can send someone to the Empire to check on his master and his wife. Rosweiss, with a thoughtful expression, considers Leon's request and responds that while silver dragons aren't very skilled at sneaking in, visiting someone is no problem. Hearing her response, Leon becomes overjoyed and enthusiastically asks if she's really okay with it. In his excitement, he starts to say thank you but quickly stops himself, remembering to compose himself. Leon then coughs repeatedly to maintain a calm demeanor, clears his throat, and formally thanks her for her help. At the Silver Dragon Castle garden, Leon sits with a weak and pale face. Moon, noticing his restless expression, asks if her dad is sick. Startled, Leon nervously gets up and denies Moon's words, asking why she's saying that. Moon giggles lightly and confidently replies that Mom told her dad took the medicine himself yesterday. She adds that dad is a man, and men can't admit when they're sick. Hearing Moon's words, Leon becomes furious, gritting his teeth as he thinks about how that female dragon could say such things to a child. He questions himself, wondering if he has any dignity left. Moon, looking at her dad with concern, says that he still doesn't seem well. She asks if it's because the medicine wasn't effective enough or if he took too little of it. Leon, looking at little Moon, tells her that it's rude to ask any more questions. Moon then noticing says that dad's mouth is bleeding. Clinging to Leon, the cute Moon looks up at him and says she can't live without her dad and begs him not to die. Leon, looking at Moon affectionately, pats her head and reassures her, saying, "Daddy is really fine. He's doing just fine." Leon, looking at Moon's face, internally thinks that, as expected, she truly is Rosweiss's daughter. He always feels she resembles her in some ways. However, in this aspect, he is merciless. Leon then asks Moon, how about Daddy making her a new toy today? Moon, excited by the word toy, cheerfully exclaims that she loves toys the most. Seeing her enthusiasm, Leon decides to make a Rubik's Cube for her. After creating the cube, he carefully paints it. Once the paint is dry, Leon excitedly shows the Rubik's Cube to Moon and explains, this little toy is called a Rubik's Cube. She can twist it however she like. Leon tells Moon to come and give it a try. Moon, overjoyed, eagerly takes the Rubik's Cube into her hands, happily examining it before trying to play with it. Watching her excitement, Leon smiles affectionately and thinks about how he had learned some principles of simple mechanical linkages in his alchemy mechanics class at school. He hadn't expected to use them while taking care of his baby today. Leon wonders if he was born to be a babysitter. As these thoughts run through his mind, a sudden flash of unease crosses him. Leon quickly turns around, looking intently at his surroundings. Moon, noticing curious, asks her dad what's wrong? Still looking back, Leon replies, "It's nothing." Leon then goes back to contemplating, thinking that just now, he felt the dragon's gaze. He wonders if it's in the direction where Noah does her physical training. Leon also thinks that the child won't join them. He then decides to make one Rubik's Cube for her as well. That night, Moon sleeps quietly in her room. At that time, Noah slowly opens the door to enter. As Noah steps inside, she notices the note and the Rubik's Cube on top of it, which were left behind by Leon. In the note, Leon says it's a toy for Noah and tasks her with figuring out how to solve it. Noah takes the Rubik's Cube in her hands, looks at it, and calls her father an idiot, saying she has no interest in children's toys. However, she begins to twist the cube, trying to arrange the colors. As she does this, a light blush on her cheeks, she thanks her dad for the gift. I thinks this might be a little special edition, and it is Noah's treasure box. Noah hides the under the bed, doing something secretly. Moon secretly watches Noah from the door, thinks her sister has been acting a little strange lately, often hiding things in the box under the bed without telling her. One time, when Noah is not in the room, our little, cute Moon becomes the detective. She searches under the bed to uncover the hidden truths Noah has been keeping secret. With a light giggle, Moon decides to take a look at what treasures might be inside while her sister is away. Moon thinks that Detective Moon is on the move. Moon discovers the hidden wooden treasure box, which is related to Noah. The items in Noah's secret wooden treasure box are connected to her father. They are fragments from Leon's black and gold armor, the Rubik's Cube from Leon, and a name written by Leon, Noah K. Melkveh. Seeing all of this, Moon says, they all seem to be related to Dad. At that moment, Noah enters the room and realizes what Moon is doing there. With dark, fierce eyes, Noah looks at Moon, and it seems she is ready to finish her off in this chapter. But poor Moon doesn't notice Noah's presence. Moon, with a proud smile at discovering Noah's secret treasure trove, says that she actually understands her sister's affection for their dad. Later, Noah ties Moon down with something and silences her by plastering her mouth shut. After retrieving her treasure box, Noah tells Moon, "No peeking." I thought Moon was done for this chapter and was going to be beaten by Noah, but it turned out the opposite, a cute moment instead. St. Heath Academy is an aristocratic college among the Dragon Clan. It has strict standards for admitting students, and family is an important part of the assessment criteria. St. Heath Academy believes that whether it is asexual, oviparous, or normal live birth by a couple, only in a harmonious, loving family that advocates dragon ideals can a qualified young dragon be cultivated, and the Academy only accepts such students. In order to create the illusion of a harmonious and loving dragon family, the Silver Dragon Queen decided to take the whole family on an outing and have a family photo together. Sky City. In Sky City, there are parent dragons who are playing with their children. Rosweiss, in her dragon form, arrives at Sky City, bringing the family. Finally, after many chapters, we get to see Rosweiss in her dragon form. As Moon slides on her mother, Leon extends his hands for Moon to catch her. He tells Moon to slow down as he'll carry her down. Noah, with a cold look and folding her hands, watches the scene. As Leon catches Moon in his hands, Rosweiss turns into her human form. Moon asks her dad why he didn't turn into a dragon just now, and she says that Moon wants to see Dad turn into a dragon. Hearing Moon's curious question, Leon is surprised. But Leon doesn't know how to answer, so he simply laughs awkwardly at those questions. Then Leon internally thinks that, dear daughter, he's very good at slaying dragons, but as for turning into a dragon, she has to forget it. Suddenly, Noah, looking at Leon coldly, asks if he can't change or if he can. To Noah's question, Leon got caught off guard. He doesn't know what to do in the situation, and he doesn't know how to answer that. Leon then nervously and hesitantly looks at Noah and Rosweiss repeatedly. Rosweiss then tells their daughters that their father's body hasn't recovered yet, so he can't transform into a dragon for the time being. She says she'll show them when he recovers. Moon, with a concerned look on her face, looks at Leon, her father, and says that Dad must get well soon. Leon assures Moon by saying he'll try his best, but he internally thinks that although it is impossible. Rosweiss then tells them to go into town as they have things to do today. Moon excitedly runs on the street, telling Noah to look because there are so many dragons. Noah tells Moon to slow down and not walk too fast. The other dragons, seeing Moon and Noah, admire them. Rosweiss and Leon, walking behind them, watch. As they're walking, Leon's face becomes dark, and he starts trembling, but he remains silent. Rossweiss notices Leon's expression and wonders if this guy is shaking. She confirms it to herself and thinks that it should be the first time he has seen so many dragons since he woke up from his coma. Rossweiss then, leaning closer to Leon with a smirking smile, asks if he's scared. To her question, Leon, with a dark face, remains silent. Leon then, with an arrogant look on his face, asks who is scared. He tells her that he's excited and asks if she understands it. Pointing his finger at the dragon citizens, he says that first-class merit, second-class merit, third-class merit, merits are all over the streets. He's going to get rich. The dragon people, with questioning expressions on their faces, look at Leon as he points at them and talks. Leon then whistles and starts walking away. Rossweiss, annoyed and holding her head, thinks that she worried about him unnecessarily. As Leon walks away, laughing happily, he wonders how much money he can make if he brings them all back. Later, at a specific shop, the door opens. The dragon people running the shop welcome her, Majesty, the Silver Dragon Queen, and humbly bow, saying it is a pleasure to serve her and their family. Rossweiss, Leon, and their little cuties then enter the shop. Moon, running around the room and holding Noah's hand, tells her to look at all the photos of dragons. But Noah remains silent. Leon leans closer to Rossweiss and asks, "Isn't she the Silver Dragon Queen? Why did she come to the store to take photos in person?" Rossweiss then explains that the Dragon King of a tribe can only command people from his own tribe, but the dragons of Sky City do not belong to any tribe. Leon then teases Rossweiss, saying that her status as a queen is a bit low. To his words, Rossweiss steps on Leon's foot with her high heels. Leon, in pain, jumps and holds his foot, while Rossweiss cutely says that, in any case, she's taller than him. The head of the shopkeeper says that it is their honor to be able to take a family photo for the Silver Dragon Queen. Rossweiss then says that everyone says her photography skills are top-notch among the dragon tribe, and it is their luck to have successfully made an appointment with her. The head shopkeeper, pointing, asks about Her Majesty's husband's tail. Rossweiss says he doesn't like his tail showing, so they should choose a tailless suit for him. Rossweiss thinks back to when she tried to get Leon to wear the dragon tail decoration. Back then, in the Silver Dragon Castle before they left for Sky City, Rossweiss gave Leon a silver dragon tail, which was custom made by her, and asked him to wear it. But Leon, freaking out upon seeing the dragon tail, refused to wear it, saying he would never wear that thing, even if he died, as it was related to his dignity. The head of the shopkeeper says she understands Her Majesty and tells her to move over here and try on the clothes first. Moon, on the other side, with excitement, cheerfully says that Moon wants to wear a nice dress. After a while, Moon and Noah change into new dresses for the photography. Leon too then comes out wearing a white suit. Moon, seeing her father in a new stunning outfit, cheerfully and surprised, says that Dad is so handsome. The head of the shopkeeper says that the suit suits the prince very well. He must have been very popular in the past. Leon asks if she means it and says that the last time he wore a formal suit was at his school graduation ceremony. Leon then, focusing his attention on Noah, asks how Noah feels. To his sudden question, Noah looks at him a little surprised. Noah, then looking away with a light blush, agrees and says that he is quite handsome. Leon, then smiling brightly and patting Moon and Noah's heads, says that their skirts are cute too. Rossweiss, also changing her dress, comes out from the dressing room. We have to admit that she looks absolutely gorgeous in this dress. Moon, seeing her mother in the beautiful dress, says that Mom is so beautiful. Leon, seeing Rossweiss looking so dashing, has his jaw drop, his face turns red, and he becomes totally speechless, a fool in her presence. Rossweiss, noticing Leon's gaze, asks what is wrong. Leon, blushing and looking away, scratches his head and says that it is nothing, it's just that her dress suited her. Rossweiss, hearing Leon's words, blushes too, and looking away, says that she thinks it would be nice if he had a tail. Leon, annoyed by that comment, internally thinks that he will never put on a tail in his life. The head of the shopkeeper readies the camera for the photography, and Moon, waving her hand, calls Mom and Dad and comes over to them. They then position themselves. The head of the shopkeeper says that it's time to take the pictures and tells Her Majesty and the prince to come closer. Rossweiss and Leon both look away from each other, and Leon thinks he doesn't want to. Or maybe both of them think that. As the head of the shopkeeper, about to take the family photo, tells them to smile and starts the countdown, only Moon's enthusiasm and her excitement and cheerful vibe is visible in the photo. As always, everyone else looks normal and cold. The head of the shopkeeper then takes the family photo. Later, another photo is taken, only with Moon and Noah hugging each other. There's also a photo of Rossweiss and Leon making a love-shaped symbol, with Rossweiss using her tail and Leon using his hand to combine as a love symbol. In another photo, Rossweiss and Leon look at each other eye to eye. We can see that their faces are flushed, but we can clearly detect the rivalry in their eyes. The head of the shopkeeper, seeing this, says that they really look like a couple. I think we should call this a special edition, and it is Leon's graduation ceremony. On the day of Leon's graduation, his female juniors surround him with gifts and other things. One girl asks if they can take a photo together with senior Leon. Another girl asks if they can have dinner with him. Another girl, giving gifts, asks Leon to accept the gift. Leon, surrounded by his female juniors, struggles to shake them off and doesn't know how to get away from them. His face shows hesitation as he can't accept any of them. Leon then, making a straight face, rejects everyone by saying he still has to go back to nail hooves for his master's donkey, and he'll definitely do that next time. Leon then says goodbye to the junior girls, breaking their hearts in disappointment. The girls, unable to say anything else to Leon, leave completely heartbroken. Leon's master, watching all of this from afar, wonders if this guy got kicked in the head by a donkey. In the Sky City, after taking their photos at the shop, the head of the shopkeeper informs them that it will take about 6 hours for the photos to be developed. During this time, she suggests that Her Majesty take a stroll around the city. Moon waves her hand to the head of the shopkeeper as they leave, while Noah and Leon exchange a glance, making eye contact as if something fishy is going on. Moon grabs Noah's hand and starts running through the streets, excitedly urging him to look over there. Leon and Rossweiss follow behind their children. As they walk, Leon looks at Rossweiss and remarks that he never thought he'd get the chance to go shopping with her. "It's really new," he says. Rossweiss replies calmly, saying this is all to maintain their family image. She adds that Noah has been taking her entrance exam very seriously and has worked hard for almost a month, so it's good to relax once in a while. As Leon and Rossweiss continue talking, Moon and Noah stop at a stall featuring a balloon shooting game. Their attention is instantly drawn to a cute teddy bear among the prizes. Moon's eyes sparkle brightly, and Noah is just as excited about the adorable bear. However, when Leon and Rossweiss catch up and see where the kids have stopped, they are surprised. Noah steps forward to try her luck, picking up the toy gun. She aims carefully at a balloon, but the outcome isn't great. She either misses the target entirely or hits a balloon that stubbornly refuses to burst. Either way, Noah fails. Faced with failure, Noah remains silent, her expression turning into an adorable, angry pout. Moon's excitement also fades, and her face falls as she becomes equally disappointed that they couldn't win the teddy bear. The shopkeeper, noticing their reactions, says it's a pity and encourages them. If she tried a few more times, she would definitely be able to hit it, the shopkeeper assures them. At this point, Leon rushes over to the children and remarks, "There's this kind of shooting game here too." Seeing him approach, Moon enthusiastically calls out, "Dad!" Noah, still pouting, stares at the balloons and mutters, "She can't hit them." Leon laughs awkwardly, thinking to himself that these games are probably designed so most people can't win. Noah, still pouting, thrusts the gun into her father's hands. Taking the gun, Leon examines it intensely, recalling how he had seen others play similar games at the human market. Rossweiss observes Leon and comments that the bullets of this toy gun are made of magical energy, which requires certain precise control of the magical energy. It is indeed a bit difficult for Noah. The shopkeeper turns to Leon and Rossweiss and asks if they would like to give the game a try. He explains that if they manage to hit all the balloons within 10 shots, they can win the pair of teddy bears their daughters seem to want. Internally, the shopkeeper chuckles to himself, thinking that he deliberately let the kids try the game first to lure their parents in and make bigger money. Leon looks down at his little daughters and asks if they want the teddy bears. Noah, folding her arms and turning away in anger, declares that she's not interested. Moon, making a sad face, quietly says, Moon doesn't want them either. Both girls try to hide their true feelings. Leon sighs, internally realizing that they do want the bears but won't admit it. Pointing back at Rossweiss, Leon points his finger at her and confidently tells the shopkeeper to give him 10 shots and she'll pay for it. Rossweiss, caught off guard, looks at him in shock. The shopkeeper laughing says that's good. Leon aims the gun at the balloons, focusing on his shots. He thinks to himself that it has been a while since he last held a gun, the last time being during his days at the Dragon Slayer Academy. Meanwhile, Rossweiss hands the gold to the shopkeeper, who accepts the money with a quick, "Thanks." Leon then carefully aims at the balloons and starts shooting repeatedly, targeting all 10 balloons. However, he misses every shot and fails to hit a single balloon with his magic energy bullets. Observing Leon's struggle, the shopkeeper smirks cunningly, thinking to himself about the changes he made to the gun to ensure that no one, regardless of skill, would find it easy to hit the targets. Leon examines the gun, wondering why it failed to hit the balloons, and gives it a few taps. Determined, he takes aim once more, casually sliding his left hand into his pocket. This time, he begins shooting at the balloons one by one, hitting each target flawlessly. The shopkeeper, witnessing Leon's perfect shots, is utterly shocked, his eyes widen, and his jaw drops in disbelief. Leon spins the gun in his hand and casually remarks that he had only tested the sights with his first shot and didn't expect to hit the targets after that. He adds with a smirk that he guessed he got lucky. The shopkeeper, still in shock, silently wonders how such a feat was possible. Rosweiss, with a soft smile, compliments Leon, saying, "Not bad." Moon, her cheeks slightly flushed with admiration, excitedly exclaims in a cheerful voice, "Dad is amazing." Noah, also blushing slightly in surprise, adds, "Dad is so sharp." Pretending to be amazed, the shopkeeper reluctantly hands over a pair of teddy bears and exclaims, "That's awesome," and hand over the prize, telling him to take it. Leon accepts the teddy bears with a smile and thanks the shopkeeper. As the shopkeeper hands over the prize, he internally mutters to himself, "Just take it and leave already." Leon, with a light smile, gives a pair of teddy bears, one to Moon and one to Noah, saying they are for them. Moon, taking the teddy bear happily, thanks her dad. Noah, also taking the teddy bear in her hands and looking at it, thanks Leon as well. Rosweiss, watching from the side with a little surprise at the affection and harmony, thinks to herself that, although this guy is usually a little off-key, every time he gets serious, he always has a special charm. Leon keeps staring at Rosweiss, noticing her deep in thought. Rosweiss notices Leon's stare and wonders why he is looking at her. As he continues to look at her, he decides something in his mind and suddenly says, "Oh. It seems he has some thoughts regarding Rosweiss too, let's see what they are about." Later, after some time, Rosweiss and the family continue strolling through the streets. As they walk, a little dragon girl points her finger toward Rosweiss and asks her mother, "She wants that too." The little dragon girl's mother, looking at Rosweiss with slight surprise, remains silent and says nothing to her daughter. The plan Leon had earlier in his mind was to give his big baby girl one teddy bear as well. So, Leon got a big teddy bear for the big baby girl too. Rosweiss, holding the big teddy bear, walks silently with an emotionless expression, not saying a word. She doesn't even respond to the little dragon girl. After all, the girl was asking her mother, not Rosweiss. Leon, folding his hands and laughing, asks Rosweiss if she noticed the miserable expression on the unscrupulous businessman's face in the end. He adds that it felt like he finally got rid of his anger. Back then, Leon had shown the money to the shopkeeper and demanded another shot. In shock, the shopkeeper was taken aback, his jaw dropping as he started fearing Leon's eventual win. Rosweiss, with a cold expression, remarks that if it had been her, she would have simply advised them not to waste their time on such a childish game. Leon, looking back at Rosweiss, says that they came out, and it's good that they're having fun. Turning to her, he asks if she doesn't like it. Rosweiss, with a straight face, replies that she didn't say that. Leon, pointing his finger at Rosweiss, says that now that she's here, he can't let her go back empty-handed. Rosweiss, clinging to the teddy bear and blushing, thinks to herself that bears are just unpalatable food, not even good enough to fill one's stomach. But when they are made into toys, they're cute. Quickly passing by Leon, Rosweiss, cutely making a pouting face, tells him to come find her. After dinner tonight. Leon, hearing her words, looks at her in surprise. After a moment, he stands in the middle of the street, stunned, with a big question mark in his head. That night, in the Silver Dragon Castle, as Rosweiss had said, Leon starts heading towards her room after dinner. As he walks, he thinks about Rosweiss inviting him to her room. It's late at night, and he's alone here, something is bound to happen if he goes to her room. Leon, in a dilemma about what to do, grits his teeth and thinks that if he goes, he'll feel uncomfortable for the night, but if he doesn't go, he'll feel uncomfortable for a week. Frustrated, Leon angrily walks toward her room, thinking he's going to fight her. When he arrives at the door, he stands in front of it and tries to knock to let her know he's there. However, before he knocks, Leon notices a gap in the door and realizes it's unlocked. Seeing the door ajar, Leon enters the room, looking around for Rosweiss. Hearing the sound of water, he thinks, it's too early, she's still taking a shower. Leon, noticing he can see through the shower's glass, thinks to himself that the quality of this glass seems to be poor. As Rosweiss continues her shower, Leon is taken aback in shock. He thinks to himself, if he really has to do this tonight. Snapping back to reality, he shakes his head, trying to calm down. Leon then slowly peeks into the shower, his eyes widening as he looks. I'm not sure whether he actually peeked or not, as the image is brief and small, I can't think too much about it. Rosweiss, in her pajamas and covered by a stream of hot water, looks stunning. The water droplets from the shower haven't completely dried on her yet. Her long silver hair and face are still wet, with droplets glistening on her body. When she sees Leon, she says, "You're here. Let's get started." Seeing Rosweiss like that, Leon's heart skips a beat. We can't blame him, it's only natural when faced with such natural beauty. With a light fear on his face, Leon thinks to himself if he's going to be squeezed dry again. As for the romance, we'll have to wait until next week for the next chapter. Damn, we have to wait a whole week for the next one, let's see how much romance will be added in the next chapter. But the video isn't over yet. There's still a small extra special edition left. 6 hours later, the photos are ready to view. Moon and Noah are looking at the photos of their parents, Leon and Rosweiss. Moon, enthusiastically looking at the photo, says, "Mom and Dad are such a perfect match." Noah looks at the photo silently, not saying anything. As Leon checks the photos, he notices a note behind one and says, "There's a card attached to this photo." Hearing this, Rosweiss, curious, asks him to show it to her. Leon then shows the note behind the photo to Rosweiss. Together, Leon and Rosweiss start reading the note. It contains words from the head of the shopkeeper, who wrote, "May the silver light always shine in the eyes of the one they love." As they read the note, Leon and Rosweiss's faces turn bright red with embarrassment. They both say, "Who is in love with whom?" Leon says, "Who's in love with her?" Rosweiss says, "Who's in love with him?" Rosweiss, hiding the fact, cutely adds, "There must be something wrong," and asks to fix this photo for her. Leon, agreeing with Rosweiss, says, "It must be written wrong." Rosweiss comes out of the shower room and asks Leon where he would like to do it, the living room or the balcony. Leon, hearing those words, is taken aback and starts panicking a little. He nervously says that the balcony is not good and asks if he isn't right, explaining that it would be embarrassing to be seen by others. Rosweiss, looking into the mirror, calmly says that the living room would be fine then, adding that it makes no difference where it is. Leon takes a deep breath, sighs, and resigns himself to his fate. He then loudly screams, "Come on, do it." Grinning his teeth and closing his eyes, he lays on the sofa, ready for whatever is about to happen. Rosweiss, noticing his strange behavior, asks what he's doing. Leon, with a flushed red face, looks at Rosweiss and asks if she doesn't want to do it. Rosweiss, sitting on the opposite sofa with her legs crossed and a smirking smile, replies, "Mr. Casanova seems unhappy." She then adds, "But tonight isn't suitable. Let's do it another day." Leon is shocked by her words and feels deeply embarrassed. Rosweiss then places a paper on the table that she had been holding earlier. Leon, quickly sitting up on the sofa coughing repeatedly, asks what it is. As he looks at the content of the paper, Rosweiss explains that it contains test questions for the viviparous families assessed by St. Heath Academy in the past. She elaborates that the questions focus on the living habits, personality, and experiences of the partners. Rosweiss, holding more question papers in her hands, looks at Leon and says they need to get the answers right in advance to avoid being unable to respond later, which could affect Noah's admission evaluation. Leon, glancing at the questions, comments that these seem like boring questions from a couple's tacit understanding game. The questions ask about things like their partner's favorite color, the sentence their partner often says, where they went on their first date, and which book their partner likes to read. Leon, looking at Rosweiss and calling out to her, asks what color she likes. Rosweiss answers that her favorite color is black and asks about him. Leon replies by saying it's silver. As they know each other's favorite colors, they both look intensely at each other's faces. As they're intensely looking at each other, they realize it, and both Leon and Rosweiss become embarrassed. With flushed red faces, they both look away. Rosweiss, looking away, says that it's just a coincidence. Leon, also looking away, agrees with Rosweiss, saying it's just a coincidence. Snapping back to the assignment, Rosweiss says that, in short, they should test how well they know each other. Leon then agrees with Rosweiss's suggestion. After that, they both started filling in the answers to the questions. Leon then says he's finished. They both then check each other's scores. Rosweiss scores 45 points, and Leon scores 58 points. Seeing the score, Leon, with a light smile, says that his score is higher than hers. It seems he knows the queen better. Hearing Leon's words, Rossweiss becomes angry and makes a cute pouting face. Looking at her score, Rossweiss thinks she didn't expect that he even noticed her little habits, like how she likes to sit or how she places her tail most comfortably. He must be quite observant. There is a question asking if their partner has ever been particularly disappointed with them about something. Leon answers yes to that question, but the truth is no. Of course the one who said no is Rossweiss, herself. Rossweiss, looking at that question, thinks that the only mistakes he made were in guessing her thoughts. Rossweiss, closing her eyes and folding her hands deeply, reflects that she has always been used to keeping things to herself and never telling others, so it's normal for him to guess wrong. Rossweiss, looking at Leon, who is seriously engrossed in checking the question paper, thinks that maybe if it is him, she believes, she can rely on and open up to him at least at a point. Leon, noticing Rossweiss's gaze fixed on him, thinks that she has been staring at him since earlier. He wonders if it's because he got a higher score than her and she's holding a grudge. Rossweiss, deep in thought, continues to look at him without blinking, her gaze intense yet cute. Leon, laughing, places his hand on Rossweiss's shoulder. As he does, Rossweiss snaps back to reality and looks at his hand. Smiling at her, Leon tells her that the time they've spent together was too short, so it's normal that she couldn't get a high score in such a short time. Leon, with an assuring smile, says that for Noah's sake, she should try to understand him a little better. Rossweiss, trapped in Leon's words, feels her heart flutter. It starts beating so hard that she can clearly feel it. Taken aback by his words, her face flushes red. Snapping back, Rossweiss, embarrassed, slams the question paper into Leon's face, blushing as she tells him to stop talking nonsense and to write down his correct answers now. Leon, looking at her, asks if she really got this question wrong. He mentions that she had actually said she's never been disappointed in him. Rossweiss, denying it, says that if she must point out something, it would be the lack of dragon great forces last time. Leon, teasing her, says that from now on, he'll eat dragon great force pills as his meals and tells her not to regret it. Rossweiss, with a smirk, says that she's looking forward to it. Now it's the night before the entrance exam. Leon, looking at the question paper, says that it's good. After a week of hard work, their average score on the test questions can reach over 80 points. If they perform normally, there should be no problem with the family assessment. Rossweiss, exhausted, falls onto the bed and doesn't say anything in response to Leon's words. Leon, getting up and ready to leave, says that if there's nothing else, he'll go back first. Still, Rossweiss doesn't respond to him. As Leon is about to leave, suddenly, Rossweiss grabs Leon's shirt sleeve and asks him to wait. Leon, with a questioning expression, looks at her. Rossweiss, pointing toward the shower room, says that there's a bathtub in her bathroom and tells Leon to go take a bath and then come back. Hearing this, Leon is taken aback, his eyes widening in shock, and he asks what she means by telling him to take a shower in her room. Rossweiss, pushing him toward the shower room, tells Leon to just go and wash when she tells him to and to hurry up. Leon calls out Rossweiss's name, asking her to stop pushing him, but she doesn't listen. After pushing Leon into the shower room, Rossweiss quickly closes the door. Leon, looking toward the door and taking off his shirt, wonders why she wants him to take a shower in her bathroom for no reason. He questions if she's planning something bad. Leon, sighing, reasons that she's probably just been very nervous these days because of the entrance exam, so it should be fine. Deciding to stop worrying, Leon steps into the bathtub and resolves to enjoy it regardless of the reason. Immersed in the hot water, Leon relaxes and says to himself that it feels so good. As Leon is enjoying the bath, Rossweiss slowly opens the bathroom door, wrapped in a towel. Noticing her, Leon is taken aback and loudly calls out Rossweiss's name. Rossweiss, with a smirking smile, looks at him. Flicking her hair behind her ear. And the dragon mark on her chest activating starts to glow. Looking at Leon, Rossweiss says that she has been feeling a lot of pressure these days and that she wants to do it now. Leon, shocked by her words, with a pale face, internally thinks that what he had been fearing has finally come true. The dragon mark on Rossweiss's chest now resonates with the dragon mark on his chest. Leon, alarmed, stands up and loudly asks why, if she's under pressure, she's putting pressure on him. Rossweiss, smiling and winking at him, says that by transferring the pressure to him, she can feel relieved, and asks if she isn't right. Rossweiss removes the towel wrapped around her and standing in front of him naked asks if he didn't come here with this mentality a few days ago. Leon, unable to deny the truth, looks away and thinks in silence, realizing he can't refuse her. Ross Weiss then steps into the bathtub nakedly with Leon, leaning on his chest and looking into his eyes. She tells Leon that he can't run away and urges him to just surrender. Leon doesn't resist and complies with her. The dragon marks on their chests begin glowing brightly, the intensity increasing. We all know what's going to happen next. On the day of the admission test at St. Heath Academy, Leon and Ross Weiss arrive at the academy with Noah. Leon looks around in surprise, says that this is St. Heath Academy. He then looks at Ross Weiss, who remains silent with a serious expression. Leon leans closer to Ross Weiss and asks what's wrong, mentioning that he just did the decompression last night, but the effect wore off quickly. Upon hearing this, Ross Weiss's face turns red in embarrassment. She hits Leon's back, muttering for him to go to hell in a low voice. Leon laughs and tells her to let's go. They then enter the academy. At registration, they submit Noah's details. The receptionist reads aloud, Noah K. Melkveh, Silver Dragon Clan. Age, 1 year and 3 months. Leon, seeing the receptionist's skeptical expression, asks if there's a problem. The receptionist replies that there's no problem, she's just a little surprised. She adds that although the academy's minimum age for young dragons to enter is 1 year, most young dragons enrolled are around 4 to 6 years old. She then asks if it's not their princess, a little too young. Ross Weiss, with a serious expression, responds that Noah is very smart and that there's nothing wrong with her age. They respect her decision. The receptionist nods and tells them to go ahead. She informs them that a special staff member will take Noah to the written test, while the accompanying parents need to go to the 4th floor for a home assessment. On the 4th floor in the meeting room, Leon and Ross Weiss sit with the academy staff. Ross Weiss, holding Leon's hand and leaning close to him with a smile, whispers and asks based on his experience if he thinks the 3 people there are easy to deal with. Leon, looking at them with a straight, blank, uninterested face, whispers that they look easy to kill. He reflects that the person he was before being captured by her would have taken his head easily in 50 rounds. Leon, making an angry face with killing intent, gritting his teeth, and tightening his fist, whispers to Ross Weiss that if they dare not allow Noah to attend the academy, he will meet them with a sword. The 3 academy staff, feeling the intensity of his killing intent, think that he is an imposing parent. One of them, an older man, introduces himself as Walter Wilson, the vice principal of St. Heath Academy, and explains that he is responsible for their assessment today. The vice principal, with a calm demeanor, tells them not to be nervous and to simply relax and answer their questions. Ross Weiss, putting on a fake smile, agrees with the vice principal. Leon, also forcing a fake smile, internally notes that this old man doesn't seem simple and wonders if anything strange might happen. The vice principal then asks if they remember when their wedding anniversary was. Ross Weiss and Leon exchange glances, realizing that this question was anticipated. Back in the Silver Dragon Castle bedroom, Ross Weiss had once told Leon that if someone ever asked about their wedding anniversary, they needed to decide how to respond. After all, they hadn't officially married yet, and she had gotten pregnant before they could marry. Leon, hearing her suggestion, thinks for a moment and says that if he were to choose a day that left a deep impression on him, it would have to be that day. Ross Weiss, understanding his train of thought, completes the fragment by saying it was the year 1733 of the creation calendar. Returning to the interview, both Ross Weiss and Leon confidently state that it was May 25th. Leon, however, internally reflects that this was the day when Ross Weiss and he bonded in the dungeon. The vice principal, glancing at the submitted papers with slight suspicion, remarks that their child is already over 1 year old after less than 2 years of marriage. He comments that this progress seems much faster than that of ordinary families. Leon, with an awkward laugh, explains that they fell in love at first sight, had a great relationship, and quickly got married and pregnant. The vice principal, now shifting his focus, asks if, in the 2 years of marriage, they have discovered any shortcomings or bad habits in their partner. Leon responds with a yes, while Ross Weiss answers with a no. Internally, both think that their responses should be a mixture of truth and falsehood to appear credible. When asked to elaborate, Leon begins acting, putting on a sad face. With an Oscar-worthy performance, he claims that sometimes he feels like he doesn't exist. Then, blushing and placing his hand on his chest dramatically, he says his wife is so capable, managing family affairs and housework in an exceptionally orderly manner, that it makes him feel insignificant. As Leon delivers his glowing monologue, Ross Weiss stares at him with a long, unimpressed face, clearly not amused by his performance. Leon, now blushing, looks at Ross Weiss and gently holds her hands. Ross Weiss, playing along with his act and also blushing, looks into Leon's eyes. Leon, with a soft voice, says that she easily accumulates stress, so he wants to take this opportunity to tell her something important. He tells her that he also wants to do more for their family and asks her to rely on him. Internally, however, he thinks to himself that she shouldn't exploit him when he's under a lot of pressure in the future. An older woman suddenly interjects, commenting on how considerate and good a husband he is. She then turns to Rossweiss and asks what she thinks is the most attractive thing about her husband. Surprised, Rossweiss looks at the older woman for a moment before responding. Rossweiss then with a blushed face says that her husband is handsome, has a good figure, is focused, serious, smart, responsible, likes children, and doesn't lose his temper. She adds that he's not greasy, which makes him even more attractive. Rossweiss further explains that although her health hasn't been as good as it was before marriage, it's not a big problem because her husband is skilled at making medicine. She notes that he uses all kinds of medicines to treat her. Leon, hearing her words, maintains a forced smile but laughs awkwardly. Internally, he wonders if she's praising him or subtly insulting him. Suddenly, Rossweiss, still holding Leon's hands, looks into his eyes with a concerned expression. Leon, caught off guard, awkwardly glances back at her, unsure of how to respond. Rossweiss then says that she would also like to take this opportunity to tell her husband not to push himself too much. As she speaks, she tightens her grip on Leon's hand, applying force that makes him scream internally in pain. The three old geezers, completely fooled by their act, internally think what a loving couple they are. Later, the three assessors ask Rossweiss and Leon a series of questions, and the couple answers each one with poise and majesty, leaving a strong impression. As the interview nears its conclusion, the old man asks if they have any questions for the other party. He explains that this is an additional question, and the person being asked must answer truthfully. Rossweiss, shaking her head with a light smile, says she has no questions for her husband because she already knows everything about him. The old man then turns to Leon and asks if he has a question for Rossweiss. Leon, looking deep in thought, pauses for a moment. Rossweiss, looking at Leon with a smirking smile, thinks that the more one talks, the more mistakes they make, it's better to end the assessment quickly. Leon, suddenly looking at Rossweiss, asks if she likes the teddy bear he gave her. Rossweiss, hearing Leon's words, is taken aback, her face turning red with a flush. She thinks, internally, that it's surprising he would ask such a question that has nothing to do with identity, position, or grudges. She finds that his thoughts always surprise her. Flicking her hair behind her ear, with a slight blush, she says that she likes it very much. Leon, hearing Rossweiss's words, says with satisfaction that he understands and is fine with her answer too. The vice principal, shaking hands with Leon, says that the interview is now over. The results of the assessment will be sent to Silver Dragon Castle via dragon letter in a few days and thanks them again for their cooperation. With the interview and Noah's test completed, they return to Silver Dragon Castle. A few days later, a little red dragon arrives with news from the academy. Moon, seeing the dragon enthusiastically calling out to Noah, says that the dragon letter has arrived. Leon then picks up the letter from the dragon and opens it, saying, "Let's have a look." As he opens the letter, it reads, "Dear Noah K. Melkveh, congratulations on passing the Academy's assessment. And tell her to come to the Academy in 3 days to register and attend the entrance ceremony." The four of them, reading the letter, express their surprise and happiness about the enrollment and passing. Moon, hugging Noah and rubbing her cheek against hers, says that her sister is awesome, and her parents are awesome too. Noah, looking at the admission letter, smiles for the first time in the entire manhwa. Rossweiss, looking at Leon, thanks him. Leon, feeling proud, then asks, why is she thanking him? It's mainly up to Noah herself. She is worthy of being his daughter. Rossweiss, leaving with a wink, says that she'll make a big meal to celebrate today, and Leon can come and help so that people won't say he doesn't exist in this family. Leon, with a smirk, agrees, saying that he finds her very petty and always holding a grudge. Rossweiss, in her new dress, kicks off. That's it for this week's episode. See you next time with a new, spicy chapter about the celebrations. See ya.